just a bloke in a bar.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the last show of the year for the crew, Bloke in a Bar. I'm not sure about you boys. Is the last show for you boys? You got a couple for the rest of the week?
I'm pretty much done.
Pretty much done?
I'll work through Chrissy, mate. Cricket.
Okay, cricket.
Give me something tomorrow, last one for the year.
Okay, so it's pretty much the last one for all of us, guys. So first of all, we just wanted to say a massive, massive thank you once again for the year. I mean, all of us, we come in here, we pinch ourselves. We are so, so lucky to be able to do what we do, and it is absolutely all due to you guys. You know, this doesn't exist without your support, you know, so thank you so much for the year. It's been incredible, and we have absolutely massive plans for next year, guys. So I hope you guys, you know, enjoy all the new content next year, but I just wanted to say thank you so much for all the support this year. It's been absolutely incredible, and trust me, a day doesn't go by where all of us aren't incredibly grateful to be able to do what we do, because we've all had jobs where, you know, it can be tough. This is not a job. This is not a job. This is a privilege. So thank you so much. But anyway, the great Roo, how's your weekend, mate?
It's good, mate. We had a pretty big Friday. Shout out to Blue Earth Property. Put on a great event for me and Timbo.
Yeah, okay. Okay, Timmy, how's your weekend, mate?
Yeah, ripper on the Friday with the Roo and Blue Earth team, and then SC Playbook catch up on the Saturday, Arvo, end of year, a few scoos, and then yesterday was a standard Sunday, just prepping for the bloke potty, mate.
Yeah, okay. Hammy?
Did a bit of apartment browsing on Saturday, looking to move potentially. So a little bit of that on Saturday, and then just a lot of cricket watching yesterday. So a little bit of hard yakka and a bit of relaxing.
Yeah, okay, I like it. It's been a long year. Yeah, I had a great weekend actually. Yeah. Thanks for asking, Hammy.
Pleasure.
I didn't get to go to my son's first swimming lesson, which sucked, but I got to go to his second one, and it was awesome to see him learning how to swim in that. He's a water baby. He actually is a water baby. He tries to dive in the water without knowing how to swim, which is dangerous.
Bit of concern, yep.
Bit of concern, but I like the fact that he has no fear at the moment. But anyway,
New South Welshman, through and through.
Oh my God!
Can I jump in quickly for a quick yarn about Timmy from Friday?
Here we go.
So we're at the Golden Century having Chinese for dinner, and he's in a conversation with someone, and I see behind us they deliver the food via robots with 3 tiers with the foods on and stuff. And I think that's pretty cool. And I thought, you know who would love this? My mate Tim Williams. And I turned to the people, I go, sorry to interrupt, but Timmy, you might want to see this. Tim stands up and follows the robot down the hallway, crouching down next to it for about 15 metres. Thought I was going to play 5'8" for the Raiders.
It was so cool. I think it was called L7 or something, and I was trying to tell it to bring me a beer, and I was like, L7, schooner, now. Brushed me every time. But look, I was tempted to ask the staff, how's this work? What's the programming, etc., to try and can it do this? Because it was bringing food, didn't have a no alcohol function. Anyway, it was fantastic.
Timmy finding out something that's been around for about 10 years.
I'd seen them in Japan, but I hadn't seen them in Sydney before.
Oh, technology these days, eh? Oh, yeah. Guys, brought to you by Grumpy Coffee. Make sure to go to grumpycoffee.com.au, grab your coffee. We got our coffees here today. Oh, yeah, they're tasting good because our pods, they're back. We got them back in, thank God. She's been absolutely killing us. Grab your coffee. It's the best blend in all the land. Trust me, guys, you want to taste our everyday or our very grumpy blends. They are outstanding. And the feedback we've been getting on them is incredible. Even the 1-star review, there's only a couple of them, they even say the coffee tastes good. It's just the delivery took too long, which is my fault. That's my bad, baby. So I'll keep the 1-star there. I deserved it. I deserved it. But they even say the coffee's good. So grumpycoffee.com.au. And don't forget, guys, to like and subscribe on all platforms. Leave us a comment on YouTube and Spotify. As always, on YouTube, if you leave a comment asking a question for Beak's bag, if we choose your question, we give you a $50 bloke gift voucher. And also, the last chance, if you are a DJ or a music producer / DJ, send an email to matt@blokeinabar.com. I've got an idea in my head that I would love to run past a highly skilled producer / DJ. We've got heaps and heaps of emails so far. I've been through every single one of them. Thanks to everyone that sent an email through, and so much talent there. I listened to everyone's music that got sent through. So this is the last chance, and then in the new year, I'll go through and select a few who I think could work. So email matt@blokeinabar.com for an opportunity to work with Bloke, DJ / music producer, and it's not just a one-off thing. It's something that will happen for many years to come, hopefully. So email Matt@blokeinabar, and also don't forget Bloke undies. They are now available on bloke.shop. already getting emails and messages telling us how comfy they are. These are as high quality as we can get them, guys. Seriously, we spent years looking at the design, looking at the material to use. They are as high quality as we could possibly get them. These aren't cheap, crappy undies. These are really, really comfortable undies with the best material you can get, to my knowledge. So that's bloke.shop.
Good stocking stuffer.
Good stocking stuffer. Guys, the festive season, it's where I do my best work. Allegedly. There's plenty of sport over the next few weeks, so make sure to give me a follow on the feed. I'll be doing my work. I'll be getting through my work, and the last few weeks been doing pretty well. So give us a follow on the feed over the festive season. I'll be getting into my work. You can copy Mitch, you can follow them. That's on Sportsbet feed. It takes 2 seconds. You go to settings, you go to feed, you go to Denon, you can type in bloke. There is no better time to follow bloke on the feed than the festive season. But let's get into Face the Music, brought to you by our friends over at Sportsbet.
Yeah, if you're still a bit confused, you just look for the most followed guy on the feed, and that's...
Yeah, if you lose your way on the feed, you're like, oh, where do I go? You just go, oh, there's the most followed guy there that has the best community that actually gets around, gets to get around each other, and you'll find the bloke community, the biggest community on the feed, bigger than any other community. No matter how much funds get pumped into the other communities, we're still the biggest.
So if you're a bit lost, you look for that one. Yeah. Very easy. We have bets on the cricket this week, and due to a little bit of inclement weather, none of it is settled just yet. We all backed Australia. Look, hopefully the boys can still get up, but the draw looking quite likely, a bit more rain around today. This time last week, the draw was $15. Outrageous. We missed a trick there. But anyway, in terms of our run scorers, Roo, the cricket guru, you're probably in the box seat at the moment. You had Travis Head, Carey the only watch, but I'd say you're probably close enough to home. None of you guys bowlers have even bowled a ball yet due to the rain. Cummins was Denon, Timmy and Matty, and Roo, you had Starkey. They haven't bowled yet. I had Bumrah, and no one's going to catch him, so I've actually got one up there, which is nice. But we're going to have to wait a little bit longer to see where our tips from this week settled. So, Unfortunately, not a lot to report, but if we were to call it right now, the only one that settled is my bet, so I'd be the winner at the moment. So.
I just would like to just recall last week I did say Steve Smith would get his eyes back, and he did.
Yep.
And although you're not going to count that as a point, I think most judges probably would count that as a point because
no market for will Steve Smith get eyes back. Just having a look here on
Sportsbet. I'm just saying, like, a lot of people doubted him, but me knowing cricket, watching the patterns, studying the numbers, dropping the 2, plussing the 1. I noticed that Steve Smith would play some good footy this weekend.
He's no Travis Head, but it's a good knock, I guess.
It's not bad. So you talked him back into form, you're saying?
Allegedly.
You're claiming that?
Allegedly.
All right, well, we'll have a little bit more later in the show. We are going to do some future stuff for the Big Bash season. Just got underway last night, a little bit of Big Bash, and as well, a little bit of Fury Usyk 2 boxing.
So stay tuned for that. Fury Usyk 2, and also I'll be having a Fury Usyk 2 bet on my Sportsbet feed. So make sure to copy that bet on the feed, and also I'm sure you'll be as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Get around. Now, just one thing very quickly on the Big Bash, we will get to a little bit later, but you can actually, on Sportsbet, and you can't do this on a lot of other bookies, you can actually multi together top run scorers, top wicket takers from various different teams. I've got one on the feed right now. It's paying $67. Adam Zampa to top the wickets for the Renegades, Sean Abbott to do the same for the Sixers, Matt Short, top run scorer Adelaide, Dave Warner for the Thunder, and friend of the show, Nathan Ellis, top wicket taker for the Hurricanes. $67. There's already 30 punters have got on it since I put it up this morning. Giddy up. Let's get the community around that one and see how we go.
Let's get around it. Let's get around it. That was Faces Music, brought to you, our friends over at Sportsbet. Give us a follow on the feed. Give them a follow on Instagram, all that good stuff. But let's get into it, shall we? The Hungriest player, brought to you by our friends over at Menulog. And I tell you what, Menulog, get around them around the festive season. A lot of feeds will be getting to houses, and you can use this code to get $7 off Thai this week. Minimum spend $20. The Hungriest player this week. I've already given you the sneak peek. It's Steve Smith. That is right. Steve Smith is our Hungriest player this week. It's $7 off Thai, minimum spend $20. As of yesterday, Australia are 7 for 405, Head 152, Smith 101, Carey 45 not out. And just from a perspective of, we talked about pressure on a legend going into this game and to turn up and hit a ton. What an incredible performance from Steve Smith.
Yeah, unreal to see. I'm probably not the best person talking it, but as you said, Kemby, just when you see a champion sort of down and out, everyone doubting him, to stand and deliver like that, unreal to see. I loved it.
Moves on to second on the list of Australian centurions behind the one Ricky Ponting. So It was just so amazing to see that play out because, as I said, there were so many question marks around Steve Smith and his future. And as you said, Kempy had his eyes gone, was the chat. Had he lost his eye as he got on in age a little bit. And just the way that we saw that innings unfold, for 50 to 60 runs, he ground his way and he struggled and the pressure was on and it wasn't pretty for a long time. And then he played almost exclusively onside, which, quite rare for him. He said that was his game plan. That was what was going to work and get him back into a bit of touch. And then from about 60 to 70 runs onwards through to that ton, he was back, wasn't he, Hammy? The eye was in and he was smoke. It started playing through the offside again and you're sitting there going, okay, this is Steve Smith of old. Whether or not that continues through the rest of the summer, we don't know. But at the very least, to get one last glimpse of it, that 30 to 40 run passage of Steve Smith was sublime.
Wasn't pretty. First ton in 18 months in the Test side, but it was a bit of a reunion of that partnership they had in the Test Championship final. Smith and Head probably took the game away from India there, and they potentially have done it again here. But you're right, it wasn't pretty for the best part of it, but he'd gone away and tinkered with his technique as he does so often, brought back that big pronounced kind of step over and across, which we hadn't seen in a little while. And it seems to have got him going again. So, look, he's definitely not the player that he was, but, for him to kind of get to outright second on that list was great to see. He was pissed off when he got out as well, I will say. He looked filthy. He wanted a big one. But, he's got one. Hopefully that just kind of kickstarts him into... It's going to be another big 18 months. You'd imagine he's probably eyeing off the Ashes at the end of this year. So... hopefully this is the little innings that can, get him somewhere close to his best again and get him.
What an incredible performance though, because you're just kind of saying he's not where he's not at his peak of his career at the moment, and yet to go out under pressure against arguably the best team in the world and score a ton, so not even at his best, at the end of his career where he's all winding down, he on the big stage where they need the win, and I'm not sure whether they'll win or not, he can come out and do that. Not even at his best. Like some players at their peak of their career can't do that. He's doing that not even at his best. And
what's remarkable is you see this career transition and how it's played out for the greats of the game. Sachin Tendulkar, Ricky Ponting, now Virat Kohli and Steve Smith, some of the all-time greats of our game. And Tendulkar, I think, didn't have a ton for 2 years. And you're like, when are they going to drop him? When are they going to drop him? As all champions do, he bounced back. He got a ton about just before the end of his career and said, no, I have one left in me. Ricky Ponting was the same, went through a really lean, almost 2-year patch, and I was at the game, I think he was at the SCG, tunned up, may have been the Clark 329 game, and he had that, and he had the big dive and should have been running out on 96 or 99, on 99, took a quick single, got the ton, and Virat Kohli, Steve Smith, they were the same. They both didn't have a ton, as you said, Hammy, in 18 months. Both bounced back this series with tons. So, again, hopefully there's more of this to come from Steve Smith and he gets through to the Ashes in Australia next year. But if nothing else, we've seen hopefully not one last Steve Smith ton.
If he comes out and he goes, obviously, 100 here, and then for the rest of the test he averages, 30 or 40, has he bought himself enough time to have that last series at the end of next year?
Yes. I think so. No one else is really banging the door down just yet. They've got a couple of tough series. They've got to go away to Sri Lanka, which is very tough conditions. He plays spin really well. I think they'll want him there. So I reckon this is the sort of knock that probably buys him enough time to get through that next little bit. Yeah,
should be okay. But look, there's 2 tests to come after this. If he comes out and has 4 failures, we then go into the Sri Lankan series, which is looming as one of the more pivotal subcontinent series that we've had, because that, depending on what happens with the end of the Australia-India series, could dictate whether or not we end up in the World Test Championships final. So he should be okay, but it's not locked him in for the Ashes yet. No.
There's a big milestone around the corner. He's about 170 runs away from reaching the 10,000 test run milestone. Every chance that potentially happens, maybe at the SCG, and there'll be some big slack, for him to do it at his home ground, will be a pretty memorable moment. So even if he's only kind of carving out 30s or 40s and gets himself there and you get that big memorable moment, that probably, again, gives him enough.
What do you reckon he needs to average for the rest of the test to kind of lock himself in?
Not heaps, because off the top of the head, let's say the last 2 test matches, if he bats 4 times, if you can average 35 or something, that'll be certainly enough. It's more if he comes out and gets a bunch of single figure scores. The issue is, as we spoke about coming into the series with selections and people under pressure, people need to be getting runs at Sheffield Shield level and putting the pressure on. And there's a few out there. We've spoken about Bo Webster and Josh Inglis and a few of these guys who are getting a few runs, but we need to see that continue to put pressure on Marnus Labuschagne, on Steve Smith, etc. So if no one's getting runs below them, well, they're going to look and go, a great of Australian cricket who just had a test ton, and he will be there. But if people come through in Shield and they get runs before the end of the summer, it'll be a different story.
Dave Warner actually made a very good point on All Talk with Hello Sport the other day when they were saying is Steve Smith under pressure, and he goes, look, if I'm an opposition team and Australia drops Steve Smith and brings in some new guy who's played no cricket, who would I rather come up against? Would it be Steve Smith, who's got 10,000 test runs, one of the greatest of all time, or some random bloke who, just kind of coming through? So I think there's nobody yet.
Look, being the cricket guy I am, I don't want to, go back at Warner.
Yep.
But I'm about to go bang.
All right.
Because
clip this up.
Isn't the reason to bring in a young guy not just about who he's playing in that game? It's about the future of the team.
Yes.
Well, what's ironic about that statement is that there's also a bit of debate now that we've got McSweeney, who had a good knock in Adelaide, but there's still pressure. Like he's going to need runs in this series to cement his spot top of the order. Usman Khawaja looked okay in that first innings, but then fell relatively cheaply again in Brisbane. Our openers are battling, and you just can't help. And I know hindsight's a great thing, but you look at the last summer, we played Pakistan, we played the West Indies, and it became the Dave Warner farewell tour. And that it's no major knock because Dave Warner earned that right with what he'd done in his career. So it's absolutely fine. However, the chat at the start of that summer was, what does Warner have left to gain from that series? And do we take this easier series, which they were, Pakistan and West Indies, granted we lost a test against West Indies, to blood and give opportunity to these guys? So to your point, Kempy, Sri Lanka, I believe we have another West Indies test series next year as well. There will be opportunities in softer series leading into the Ashes to maybe give some guys an opportunity if the runs aren't coming for Smith in the back end. But
okay. Hopefully that doesn't make huge headlines. Me versus Warner. Two great cricketing minds clash.
Yeah, old Yahoo Kemp once again at the top of the algorithm.
Anyway, Steve Smith, he is our hungriest player. $7 off tie this week. Minimum spend $20. As always, a massive thank you to our partners over at Menulog. Okay. I hate that it says this. Segment 3, Tigers drama. I hate that it says this,
Same.
but it does. I'm sure you do as well. Honestly, before coming in today, I'm sitting here thinking, do we just not talk about it? Is it one of those things like where you just go, if we don't talk about it, eventually it'll die? But it won't die. It just keeps rearing its ugly head. And so it's like, part of me doesn't want to talk about the Tigers drama because I think about all the Tigers fans that are just like, man, I am so sick of hearing negative stuff about my club. However, I'm sure there's a lot of Tigers fans that are like, want to hear about, I guess, the situation and what is going on. So I don't feel good talking about this drama, guys. Trust me. I'm almost getting to the point on this show where we're going to have a Tigers drama ban for a certain amount of months. That's how
I'd support that.
That's how much it's like. It sucks to have to talk about this. So anyway, the West Tigers and all their fans, they need a good day. Use code DMP. This is my gift to you. Use code DMP for 10% off. Combine that with subscription for 20% off. Go to begoodhealth.com.au to get your good day. The best multivitamin in the business, guys. But let's get into it, shall we? A text message sent from a former Holman Barnes Group chairman turned director. I can't say that last name, apologies. Andrico? Tony Andreachicho. Anyway, apologies. Who was one of the three... All right, you say it then, boys.
I'm not even going to try.
Okay.
Andreachicho? It could be so far. It's probably a silent A.
Andreachicho? That sounds about right.
Andrescio. Okay, who was one of the 3 board members currently suspended and expected to be removed as early as this weekend after facing a disciplinary hearing over alleged misconduct. To several club members outlined concerns over the direction of the organisation in charge of the West Tigers. Quote, if the plan devised by these individuals unfolds as expected later this week, our removal as directors will be finalised and our club membership will be banned indefinitely. The text message sent by Andrescio said, consequently, the Holman Barnes Group will fall under the control of a cabal of 4 supported by an outdated debenture holder. I don't even know what that means. Debenture? What does that mean, boys?
Debenture holder system. I don't know, some financial term.
That's a financial term?
Don't know.
Debenture holder system.
Well, you haven't heard of DHS.
Yeah. Jeez. Currently comprising of only 18 individuals. Their misguided ambition is to see the Western Suburb Magpies replace the West Tigers in the NRL competition. Balmain legend Benny Elias says 100,000 fans will hit the streets in protest, as South Sydney supporters did at the turn of the century, if the club's majority owner attempts to replace the West Tigers joint venture with West Magpies. The Holman Barnes Group board is separate to the West Tigers board, but any decisions will have a direct impact on the NRL club. The Holman Barnes Group put a statement out. The statement is from the Holman Barnes Group board. The Holman Barnes Group emphatically rejects claims made by Sydney Morning Herald about its intention to move away from the West Tigers. It is untrue. The Holman Barnes Group chair, Julie Romero, said the Holman Barnes Group slogan is "Be true to the review," and we mean it. Our commitment is to the West Tigers and ensuring the West Tigers is positioned for success. Seeing reports suggesting anything other than our total commitment to the club is disappointing. We will not be moving away from the West Tigers, and to claim that is fiction. The group is disappointed to see damaging inaccuracies reported. Oh my God. Just like, the thing that I don't like, that it's bizarre because like one group's saying the other group's trying to move away from it, and that group's saying that's not happening. It's like, surely at some stage they could all just get in a room and go, guys, the only way this works if we're all on board. And like even from a perspective of the Holman Barnes Group, them moving away from the West Tigers would destroy the club, like, because that's a huge fan base of the club. So it almost doesn't make sense that they would move away from it, because how would that even work? How would the NRL even allow it? So I don't know. We've said so much about the West Tigers, but I think at some point the NRL has to step in and like guide this club through this situation, because it just continues to rear its ugly head. And I think the NRL, I know they probably don't have the legal power to do so, is because Holman Barnes Group is the majority owners, I'm pretty sure, and all that kind of stuff. However, I look at it and I go, the only way is an external mediator that has at least enough clout to be able to guide these guys in the direction that it needs to head. So that's honestly the only way I see forward, is NRL stepping in and making this sort itself out.
And, there's just been so much noise around this club for so long. And, the years before I sort of looked at it and went, okay, like, on field, there's also no way out. You don't have the players. Now that they do, I can't believe we're still talking about this sort of stuff. Like, for the first, like, if they just spin their chairs around and have a look out the window, you've got a squad that can properly compete in this competition for the first time in a long time. And, what do we always say? The teams we're constantly talking about in these first few segments are the noisiest clubs, and they're the teams that struggle. It's like they're just addicted to noise. It's
bizarre. Like, unless something is actually happening, surely go to the NRL first instead of going public with all this stuff. Like, surely if they were getting pushed out, you would go to the NRL and say, I mean, I'm assuming the NRL, the licensing agreement is with both ventures. So I don't even know how that would be possible that the Tigers wouldn't be part of it. Yeah, imagine being like a marquee in Jerome Luai coming to the club and trying to build it, and then the reports are that your club doesn't even want to be a club. Like, how hard that'd be. And it's, he's a professional footballer and he'll be fine, and we know if nothing else he'll play for his teammates and for the fans, but just going, according to this, my club doesn't even want to be a club. Yeah. So it's, we don't know if what the Herald reporting is true, but let's say it is. Just so many dramas. And as I said, like, they've been a joint venture for 24, 25 years now. This didn't happen 2-3 years ago. It's like, how is there still such major dramas and such, as I said, such public dramas every time? Yeah, it's so public. I don't get it. Hammy? Yeah, well, I mean, since I've been a fan of the club, I've kind of grown up with them just being a joint venture, and a lot of people have, and doesn't really bother them, this sort of stuff. And I thought the only time you ever heard it spoken about is when the board gets all, like, they're the ones that want to kind of split the club up or what. I don't hear it from the fans when I'm at the games and stuff like that. Like, they don't care. They've made their peace with it. They've moved on. And I think the fans are the most important part here. Like, if it's not perfect, but if it's working and it's where we've landed, just carry on. It just feels like a lot of self-interested people wanting to have a bit of a political win for themselves, kind of making all this noise, which is very annoying. So as a Tigers fan, like, I think one of the best things is being at Leichhardt, on the hill, all that sort of stuff. So you telling me fans will respond well to removing that part of the West Tigers experience away from them? Doesn't make any sense. No, they're not. Like, and yes, we've got like a great nursery out in the West, and like we're starting to see the fruits of that come through now. The Lockie Galvin and Lua Lees and all that sort of stuff coming through. Like, there's
positive parts, of both sides of the partnership. But I don't think that the fans, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that they care about, we just want to be the Magpies. We just want to be we're happy to kind of make it work. So let's just get on with it a little bit.
It's a great, sorry, mate. I was say it's a great point you make, because like anything, this comes down to business and the Holland Barnes Group and all that sort of stuff and Bateman and all that. There's obviously so much to it beyond rugby league and what goes on the field, but you're right, mate. And whilst I'm sure there's people out there like old school Bateman and all West supporters, we still don't agree with the merger or whatever it is, but I personally, in all my years around rugby league and talking to it with people and Tigers fans, I've never once heard a West or a Bateman supporter say, don't agree with it, this needs to separate. Never.
We literally had beers with probably a 50, 60-year-old Magpies fan on Friday, and he was sort of saying that 2005 was the best time of his life, and that he's just there was at no point did he bring up. I reckon we talked for 2 hours. At no point did he bring up at all going back to being the Magpies.
And that was obviously 5 years after the merger happened, and he was sort of saying just missed out on tickets initially, and then wanted his friends and family who were supporters to go to. He said he'd paid an arm and lead to get to it, and he goes, at the time he was so is it worth it? Is it worth it? And he goes, best decision you ever made.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a really good point in regards to all this drama when the people that matter are the fans. And whenever I ever speak to West Tigers fans, they never talk about, I want to go back to this or I want to go back to that. They just see that as the West Tigers. And you've got people in positions of power, unfortunately, abusing the privilege that they have when they've got a group of fans that they don't care about this stuff. They just want to win footy games. Look, I don't know who's in the right or who's in the wrong, but at some point, surely the grown-ups in the room need to go, whoever is right and whoever is wrong, whoever's a bad guy and the good guy, that's irrelevant. Swallow your pride, move forward, and that's why I think the NRL, and maybe they already have, but I think the NRL need to come down hard on this and be like, guys, enough's enough. And I don't know whether they have the legal ability to do that, but they're the only people I can think of with enough power to lean on them and go, enough is enough, guys.
Because the reality is, you could have copy and pasted this article from 10 years ago, and I hate to say it, but probably 10 years in the future at this rate.
Yeah. And it just all it does is hurt the fans. And that, unfortunately, my understanding is people in these roles, they're supposed to be representatives of the community, of the fans, of the people that actually pay their money to be a part of it. Can you honestly say that these people are representing?
No.
I don't. Maybe there are individuals on the board that are, but as a group, are they representing the best interests of the fans at the moment? In my opinion, I don't think so.
They're not. It's just such a distraction. And we should be here today talking about, Taruva, Terrell May,
Luai being at training, looking good.
Hot as in their Tigers kit at the first open training session. But instead we're talking about these guys who want to turn it back into the Magpies. It's just such we've got so many things right in this off-season. Why do we need to, go back to our stock ball of just the absolute shit show?
It's just bizarre. I don't get it. So,
no need.
Me personally, I hope the NRL can step in to some degree and just... surely there's some way that they can stop this from happening. This is the only club where this is... Because there's other merger clubs that they might have dramas, but we're not reading about them every single week. It's every week. And as I said, I don't know who's right or wrong. I don't know what the details are. Maybe there are some maybe there's people sitting there going, trust me, if you knew what they had done, you'd do the exact same thing we're doing. It's but at some stage, you've just got to go, whoever is right or wrong doesn't matter. What is the main priority of this board? The main priority of this board is to deliver the best rugby league club to its fans. What's more important? You getting one up on the person that has done you wrong, or the club being in a better position? It's the club being in a better position.
And you've been waiting forever to get your club in a better position. You've finally got that opportunity now.
Bizarre. So I feel sorry for Tigers fans. I really do. As I said, honestly, if this keeps going, we're just going to put a ban on it, talking about it talking about it on the podcast, because I'm just sick of it. I'm sick of it. And at the end of the day, if the players start winning footy games, this will all just be white noise, pretty much.
Well, I appreciate your support, and I appreciate the 10% off good day code as well. So thanks, mate.
Alrighty, Jayden Sullivan. Rabbitohs are reportedly interested in signing Jayden Sullivan effective immediately. He's already undergone a medical with the club.
Just call for me, thanks, Jayden.
It's also been reported that Souths are no longer after Lodge, nor are they interested in Jock Madden. I actually don't mind this. I don't mind it. If there's one coach that I would trust to get the best out of Bud Sullivan, it is Wayne Bennett. You know, he's going over there. Would have been told, well, mate, you're not going to be the starting 7. You're going to have to go back to Q Cup. You're going to have to earn your stripes. But if there's one guy I could see Bud Sullivan fulfill his potential under, in a couple of years, if we're watching Bud Sullivan go, there's the guy that we saw a few years ago and said, wow, that's one of the best young 7s in the competition, I wouldn't be surprised in the least. And it's Wayne Bennett. I really, really do like this. If this comes to fruition, I love it.
Yeah, I'm all for it too, for all the reasons you said, mate. And with all due respect to the Tigers, once again, would it shock if someone went somewhere else and did well? He doesn't seem happy at the West Tigers. He never has. Like, I even remember, like I've watched Bud come through the juniors and at the Dragons and always been so incredible. And even in the trials when he got his opportunity to start last year, like he almost looked disinterested to me.
Well, and look, anyone that's listened to this podcast this year, we've been critical of Bud. So
Yep.
we have not been just pro player when it comes to Bud Sullivan. We've been super critical. However, in his current situation, it was the old administration that gave him the big deal. So who's to say that he hasn't been almost... Because you've got to remember, it was Lockie Galvin was getting ahead of him in the preseason. And so, like, who's to say the reason why he looked a bit disinterested was because he'd already been told, mate, we don't, if you can find another club, find another club. Because it would make sense. He's on this massive wicket. Lockie Galvin's come out of nowhere. And so, again, that doesn't excuse not like having a dig and all that kind of stuff. However, it would at least explain a young player looking a little bit out of sorts because he's arrived at this club and basically been told within the first 12 months, hey, mate, we're not interested. If that is the case. Again, we've been critical of Bud, guys, so it's not like we're just being pro player. I'm just saying there's a chance that could have happened.
Yeah, I had someone message me last week complaining about all these guys that I'm not huge on or whatever. All of a sudden they're linked to Wayne Bennett and I love them. And I'm like, that's the reality, though. This is like this guy's got 50 years worth of runs on the boards that he can produce the best out of players out of absolutely nowhere. And once again, I think people forget for the last 12 months, but Bud is incredibly talented.
Go back and watch some of his games at the Dragons.
Yeah.
He had some blinders for the Dragons.
And when he signed that contract with the Tigers, I don't remember people blowing up about it.
No.
I remember people being excited about it.
Yeah.
There's a reason for that.
I think this situation is a mixture of two things. I think Bud Sullivan definitely could have probably applied himself a bit better when he did get the opportunity. However, rookie coach, transfer administration, there's a lot of things not going right at the Tigers, as we just mentioned. And so I don't think you can put solely the blame just on Bud. What do you reckon, Timmy?
Yeah, so obviously poor roster management at the Tigers for the reasons that you just mentioned, that he's lobbed all of a sudden behind Galvin, who was always going to be good, but the speed of his progression to the NRL, no one could see coming, I don't think. Latu Finu's there. Luai's coming over, so he's now like 4th, 5th choice. Like he's so far down the pecking order at the Tigers. They're obviously going to be paying a big clip of that contract to the Rabbitohs, but at the same time, it's going to free up a spot on their roster. So that's all good. As you said, Wayne Bennett and probably Craig Bellamy about the only two that I'd be like, yeah, that's where Sullivan could lob and it could work. Otherwise, he was absolutely destined for a stint in the Super League, which for a lot of young halves can be the making of them. We'll see, because he looked a great prospect at the Dragons. They didn't want to hold on to him. Same thing's happened at the Tigers. All right, what's third time lucky at the South Sydney Rabbitohs look like? I'm not overly confident, but as you said, boys, if anyone can get out of him, it's Wayne Bennett.
Yeah, I'm with you in regards to, I'm not saying it's definitely going to work because it's been 2 clubs now. However, if it can't work under Wayne, I just don't know who it's going to work under.
If it doesn't work under Wayne, it's, with all due respect, pack your bags to the Super League, go over there, kill it, make a career, because 3 clubs and the master coach Wayne Bennett and a great roster around you, if it doesn't happen there, where's it going to happen?
I tell you what, him committed at the Super League, he would absolutely tear it apart.
Yeah, man of steel. I think you said it pretty well at the start of the year, Kempy, about, he came to the Tigers on a lot of money, and probably at that stage of his career, it would have suited him better to go on a little bit less money to play under a really good coach or in a really good system or something like that. So, he probably was like a little bit too comfortable. Obviously, Galvin came through, took a spot off him. Finu came through, he ended up a long way down the pecking order. Didn't seem like he cared too much. But if he goes and plays under Wayne, there's a couple of guys that are probably in a similar boat. Schuster's gone there as well. And he's just, as Roo said, he's got 50 years worth of experience of just turning guys who have got a lot of potential but probably haven't applied themselves that well into absolute guns. So from his perspective, I think it's a really good fit.
So it's going to be, aren't the Rabbitohs moving and shaking in the transfer market? I did not expect that heading into this year. I thought they were pretty settled. linked to Lodge, then that fell through. Linked to Bateman, that falls through. Now they're linked to Sullivan. They've obviously got Schuster in. Man, I'm really excited for the Rabbitohs next year. I'm actually quite surprised at the amount of people that have questions about their forward pack.
It's bowled me over.
Yeah.
I can't believe how negative people are on South Sydney. And I'm seeing ladder predictions with them at 16, 17.
Yeah.
Wayne Bennett with Latrell and Cody Walker and Cam Murray. They're going to finish last.
And that forward pack got you and Aiken. You got,
They can win the comp next year.
Yeah.
100% they got the roster too. That's why I've been so surprised. And look, as always, guys, we'll put our hands up next year if they go terribly. We'll put our hands up and say we got it wrong. But I absolutely think they're a scary side. Like, look at Latrell at the moment. He looks fit as anything.
Barring injuries, I can't see them going poorly, honestly.
I'd be very surprised because it's like the last couple of years Wayne's going to coach as well. Cody's on his, he'll be in his last couple of years as well. Latrell Mitchell, you can see how much that, like just physically, how much better he looks already in the preseason. So I'm excited for the Rabbitohs. All right, Hubble Hub brings together live and upcoming sport in one view, so you won't have to jump in and out of different apps to find where to watch your favourite sports this summer. Even better, sport on Hubble Hub is integrated into one easy-to-navigate interface across your favourite apps, and they have an amazing offer at the moment. When you buy a Hubble Hub for $99, you can get Netflix and Kayo Sports for $25 a month for 12 months. That's a savings of $7.99 a month for 12 months. It's sport and entertainment for less, plus it's super convenient. Buy now at hubble.com.au. That's hubbl.com.au. Now, big report came out over the last few days. DCE reportedly unsure if he wants to play on in 2026. Haven't seen a quote from DCE at all with this, so take it with a grain of salt. You never know where this could come from, but let's assume that let's assume DCE is human and he actually might retire because he's playing the best footy of his career. Very, very interesting for Manly because all of a sudden it's almost a little bit like even more actually. But you looked at the Parramatta Eels and Mitch Moses had played so many games so regularly that the club just almost became used to it. And when he got injured for a long period of time, you could see the club just go, "What do we do?" They just scream like, "What do we do?" Even the players around him. Now with DCE, when you talk about a club-defining player, even more so than Mitch Moses, I'm sure if it is true that DCE said to him, "Look, I'm a little bit unsure," I'm sure Manly is sitting there going, "Geez, have we properly prepared for life without DCE?" We almost thought this guy would play forever because at the moment, I mean, the assumption and the report was that Turbo might move to 6, Lehigh to fullback, and then you have Brooks at 7. But I mean, I think it's become pretty clear. Brooks is not a 7. He's a let him just attack close to the line, more of a 5'8". I think that if you are moving Tommy Turbo into 6 and you're putting Lehigh at fullback, I think you're almost admitting you haven't prepared properly for post-DCE. Very surprised about this report.
Especially when you look at, Jamie Humphries obviously leaving this year as well. And I agree with you, mate. I think Manly are. I think they sort of just anticipated DCE would play forever. I was at a golf day the other day with the RLPA and he was there and we were doing some content around what guys are doing at post-career and whatnot. And I said to Ches, I don't know if it's close or not, but what do you think in post-trial? And he sort of laughed and went, no, I haven't even ever thought about it or anything like that. So, and it seemed very genuine to me. I do wonder if this has sort of come about over the last few weeks.
After pre-season.
Might have been, yeah, for sure.
It'll do it to you. The depths of a pre-season will do it to you. I just moving Turbo to 6 screams to me you're not prepared. Because we've never heard any whispers of Turbo being 6. And all of a sudden it's like, oh no, we'll just move Turbo. It's like, hang on a sec, where did that come from? Surely they were having, and look, if they have, then fair enough. But I'd be very surprised if a couple of years ago Manly said, when DCE retires, what we'll do is we'll move Turbo to 6. It seems like a bit of a knee-jerk reaction to the potential that he might not be there. Timmy, thoughts, mate?
Yeah, first and foremost, and probably to state the obvious, but Daly Cherry Evans, it would be purely based on him just going, okay, I've done enough, I want to give it up, and he's over it because form-wise, he's still top 3 halfbacks in the NRL. Sensational. So if he wants to go to 26 and beyond, I have no doubt that he can do it with the durability he's had throughout his career. Tommy Turbo to 5'8", I do not think is the answer at all. Mentioned firstly around Luke Brooks. He's shown sort of time and time again for the better part of a decade that probably doesn't handle the pressure as an out-and-out 7 that well. Hadn't at the Tigers and came into his own, I think, as a 6 with a bit of pressure off. Tom Trbojevic goes to number 6. How much pressure that puts on him to get them around the park Luke Brooks, that is, because Tommy Turbo, 0 kicking game for starters. Expect him to go in there at number 6 and make 20 tackles per game, because if nothing else than to tire him out, that would send a lot of traffic at Tommy Turbo. It just, not to say Tommy Turbo wouldn't kill it at 5'8", because a big, strong body, he would. He'd kill it anywhere he goes. But if you're going to move Tom Trbojevic, you move him to centre and reduce his workload and let him roam, as we've spoken about countlessly. But number 6 isn't the answer for him. So if it is true that DC is thinking about maybe retiring next year, that's not the avenue.
Yeah. And like with Tommy, and you just alluded to this, you don't want your Ferrari, you want him doing as little work as possible. Like as little of the shit stuff, which is all the tackling and everything, as possible.
And if he is coming back from like an injury or something, which is every chance with Tommy Turbo, into 5'8", you can't shirk anything. You're going to be making 20 tackles. You're going to have to run the ball, because you'll be playing a foil as a ball running 5'8", as well to Brooksy. At centre, it's like if he's coming back, you can ease into it and do a little bit less and make a few less tackles and have a few less runs. So
as well as with Tommy, like if you thought it was hard swapping a fullback in and out of a spine, I'll show you what's hard. Swapping a 6 in and out if it doesn't work, like if he's getting injured throughout the season. I think Tommy, if you're going to keep him, like if you want to keep him at fullback, keep him at fullback. I'm still open to a roaming centre position. But yeah, Tommy at 6. And granted, like Manly haven't said this. This is just all reportedly. So we're not sitting here, saying, "Oh, Manly definitely said it." It's just all reported. What do you reckon, mate?
Yeah, well, I think you guys have covered it off pretty well. I think you don't want him making as many tackles as he'd have to at number 6 for starters. I don't think Brooks, and I've had a good look at Brooks at number 7, and I don't know that. I think he's a much better 6 than he is a 7. Yeah, they probably haven't thought about it as well as they could, because if they had, maybe they could have, convinced Hungriest to stick around a little bit longer and gone, righto, there's a bit of a succession plan here. You can take over in 2026. But yeah, I wouldn't be moving him to number 6. I know Lehigh's a great fullback, but yeah, if you want to make that work, you throw him at centre. Let him play the
I will say, in Manly's defence, I'm assuming that they were told that he's feeling pretty good and it probably will go till 2026, and that's probably why they allowed Hungriest to leave.
Yep.
Whereas like this is a changing of minds here. Like that's why it's reported. Like that he might not go on for 26. Whereas last year, I'm assuming, this year the whole time was I'm good. I'll probably sign the extension. So in Manly's defence, I would like to say that's probably why they let Humphrey go. However, what I'm surprised at, and granted, Manly fans, or you'd probably be best at this, like, surely you've got a young 17, 18-year-old that you've been building towards this moment.
Yeah, well, they sort of do. They've got a kid they got from Union. I believe his last name is Walsh. I haven't seen too much of him, but I know that DC in particular rates him very highly. So they have got another ball player there. Joey Walsh, that's it. Yeah. I haven't seen much of him, though, but I know that they rate him very highly. Isn't like when you read that, isn't it just the ultimate compliment to Lehigh that we're not even mentioning names like Ruben Garrick and Kohler?
Yeah, he's locked in now. Yeah.
Like I've said it a few times. When I was in Vegas last year talking to Seabolt, he said to me, "We've brought Lehigh over here just for a bit of experience. Now he's the fullback that's moving Turbo to 5'8". It's insane.
It's crazy. Absolutely. I tell you what, Walsh, you'll expect, if it is true DC is not going around 2026, you'd expect Walsh to get a few games this year. Like, surely you'd be getting him in as quickly as possible. But yeah, interesting times at Manly. Geez, like, talk about transition. Like, the era of DC, it's been a bit of a bizarre one, because individually he's been so good, so good. However, like, they actually haven't had, aside from the initial premiership, and I think premiership and a grand final, they haven't had like that much success. But it hasn't really been focused on DC because he's played well individually. But even though they haven't made finals, as in grand finals, or won comps, it still is almost like they're losing a premiership winning 7. And I know he won a premiership early in his career, but what I'm saying is, like, it's almost like the Panthers losing Cleary to a degree, and yet Manly, in reality, actually haven't been that deep into a final since 2019. They made a prelim, I think, that year, or 20s, I think, around there.
But like, there's such an interesting side, because like over the last, like, they made that grand final in 2013. They haven't been back there since, and in my opinion, over that period,
haven't really
I've never felt like they're premiership contenders in that period. But
they've gone in streaks where I consider them a dark horse.
Yep.
But I've never considered them a heavyweight.
But then every time they have a poor season, it's Turbo was injured. If he's fit next year, they'll be okay.
Yeah.
And like, I'm guilty of that as well. But I think it sort of means that DCE has escaped a lot throughout the years. And then he's gone and done what he's done in Origin. You just sit back and go, wow, one of the best halfbacks in the game.
Well, we've spoken about this off air, but imagine DCE's career without Origin.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah,
There'd probably be a bit more pressure, even though individually he's been brilliant. It's almost a bit like the Ben Hunt situation at the Dragons. Individually brilliant, but they struggled with him at 7. So there's an argument to be made, well, did it work, did it not work? You know, I personally think it did. You know, you can't blame it all on one player. But I do think DCE's Origin career has almost said to like the wider audience, like, it's clearly not me.
Yes.
if you've got a problem about Manly not making finals, it's definitely not me.
But you're right, if you take out Origin, there's not many $1 million halfbacks that never get their team into looking like they're genuinely going to win a premiership for 10 years that it just doesn't get spoken.
Yeah. And so I guess the takeaway from that for me would be the reason why Manly haven't been a heavyweight is probably roster management. Like it probably has been roster management around DCE. And look, you could say that about 14 other clubs, so it's not unique to Manly.
Yeah.
It's just more the kind of unique situation DCE is in, where because he went away and killed it in Origin, everyone they never look at DCE and say he's the problem, and rightly so. He's definitely not the problem. He carries that side. But especially since Turbo's come in, Turbo's been so good that how could you? Because like the argument would be then Manly needed to make a hard call on Turbo 3 or 4 years ago. Who in their right mind would not keep Turbo, even if he can get injured at times? Like, I think most people go, no, I'm keeping him at the club. There's no way I'm letting him go. But it would take someone to let him go and rebuild without him that's the opposite argument against keeping Turbo and DCE together.
If DCE decided at the end of 2025 he wanted to leave and go to another club, what would you sign DCE for? What would you put his value as?
Oh, that's a tough one. If he's playing like how he is right now,
Yeah.
probably $1 million.
Million, yeah.
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, you throw him into some of those like better rosters, and I mean, geez, bloody good.
Especially one with like a young half coming through and going, go and play under Daly Cherry Evans for 1 or 2 years. Like what that would do long term for the club.
Yeah. I'd love to see DCE behind, and their forward pack's definitely getting better, but I think that's probably the area that they've really always struggled, not always, but last few years struggled with the forward pack. I'd love to see DCE behind one of the better forward pack. Like, for example, if you gave him Raiders forward pack, I'd love to see him behind that.
Same.
Anyway, we'll see what happens. I mean, what an incredible career. Well, and again, talking of DCE, one of the great redemption arcs in rugby league. You know, at one point, if you were to, let's say there was, I don't know, a 10-year-old, and you were to say to that 10-year-old, 8 years ago, DCE was one of the most disliked players in rugby league, he would say, you are off your head. You are off your head. Because now he's one of the most loved players in rugby league. But we all remember the whole Manly Titan situation, all that dramas, the struggle in Origin, and how disliked he was, you know, by fans. And now, fast forward, he's just continued turning up, doing his job, getting results, playing as good as he can play, but also never putting a foot wrong off the field, mostly. And I'd argue he's one of the most loved players in the game at the moment, relatively speaking.
Yeah.
And even like as a Queensland captain, like I hate all Queensland captains, but fuck, you got to respect him for what he does in that arena constantly.
Well, I mean, and he got his captaincy like almost the Queensland away. Like lost his spot.
Yep.
Looked like he was never going. He was one series away from never coming back in again. And then the unwinnable series happens in 2020, and he's been a captain ever since. And his Origin career, although not equal with some of the grades, I tell you what, in any other era, it's comparable to some of the best New South Wales captains' resumes. Because, you know, it was such an anomaly in regards to Cam Smith and Darren Lockyer. But it's an incredible, you know, if he ever wrote a book, it'd be a bloody good story. There'd be a lot of stuff that I think a lot of us wouldn't know.
Well, I would assume he's, maybe Ben Hunt too, but they'd be the only two players that are still around from the inaugural, like, under-20s comp, 2008.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, we'll see what happens. I'm excited for Manly, though. I'm excited for him next year. That backline's depth, far out. So good. Alrighty, PNG are set to join the NRL in 2028. The ARLC has confirmed an agreement with the Australian government to fund a 10-year Pacific Rugby League partnership. The Pacific Rugby Rugby League Partnership will support investment into grassroots pathways, elite rugby league across Papua New Guinea, Tonga, Samoa, Fiji, plus support the introduction of an PNG-based NRL side. Look, I get it. I know that this is a huge mountain to climb. And I know there's a chance that on the footy field, it may not work. I am not sitting here, with my head in the sand, pretending like it's all rainbows and sunshines. It's going to be great. It's going to run perfectly. I know there are challenges ahead. However, I think as a game, I love it. I absolutely love it. I would go as far to say is, if let's say they finish in the bottom 4 for the next 10 years, but it helps the PNG people increase their living standard, gives them jobs, gives them more opportunities, gives young boys and girls a pathway to a better life. If you looked at that in 10 years, if that's the result, I think, rugby league, a game that's given us all so much, if it can give the PNG people something, I think that would be a win. I think PNG, the rugby league side going well, is almost just a bonus. My main hope is that it helps young PNG boys and girls, and also adults with jobs and with money coming into the area, with infrastructure, with everything. My hope is that we do that, and then the PNG side going well is just a cherry on top. I know there's heaps of challenges. I know doing deals with government. Was only just earlier this year where money was promised to, I think, a core stadium, and then it got pulled back. I get it. That, and I also get the argument of taxpayers' money going to certain things. Like, I'm not educated enough in that area to have an opinion on that. I'm just a dude that loves rugby league. So I'm just looking at it purely from a perspective of rugby league, and I really like it.
It's a really good way to put it. Perspective I probably hadn't thought about. I just straight away went to all the negative stuff immediately, as we tend to do. I think it'll be very interesting to see the players that they're able to recruit and whatnot. Like I saw a couple of 17s that have been put up for PNG side, and I was just looking to go, surely there isn't a hope in hell they're getting that side.
Like, I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I know the recruitment's going to be hard, but my argument would be in 5 to 10 years' time, let's just go 10 years' time. And I know that's forever away, and you've got to get to that point. But in 10 years' time, I reckon most of the side will be PNG players. They got the talent. And they've got 10 years in the same system and resources that we have over here. All of a sudden, you just need to sprinkle a couple of marquee signings in there initially, and they've got a competitive side. Like their junior side, they drew with us 22 all this year. And then I think the year before, they lost by 4 to 6 points. Like, the talent's there. Like, they're a rugby league team that will be pulling from a population of 11 million people or something. So, and granted, not all 11 million are eligible to play rugby league. But what I'm saying is like, if you took that away, and let's just say there was a city that had 11 million people that all like rugby league in it, if I said to you, let's just assume all the resources are spent correctly, all the right people are put in place to get things done, you would say mathematically, eventually they should be competitive. It's a city of 11 million people. And I look at PNG and I'm saying, again, I understand the money being spent correctly and all the people in the right places. Like, that's the whole battle. Like, that's the whole battle. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I know it's hard, it's going to happen, but I'm saying that's the hope. So if it does happen, 11 million people to pull from with talent-wise, if anything, with the right resources and the right management, they should be one of the best sides in the competition.
I don't want to wind Timmy up and send him into the middle, but it was one thing I was thinking about the other day. Like if I'm the Canberra Raiders and I'm looking at this situation, I've heard Vlandy's already talk about how he thinks that they'll sign more players because they won't get taxed and whatnot, and different living conditions. Like, part of me, if I'm the Raiders, I'd be sitting there going, "Fuck no!" Like, very few players want to come and live here. We're dealing under the same salary cap. Then you got this new team comes in and they get to, essentially have close to a double salary cap to some extent to go live up there. It's that I would find that pretty tough as a Raiders fan.
Yeah, at some point you got to what's better for the game?
For sure.
We can all sit here and go, "Oh, that's unfair." Like, then the Raiders have been dealing with unfair salary caps forever. You look at the Broncos third parties, you look at the Roosters, you look at Storm. Like, I just think at some point.
I agree with you, but it does just add another layer to it. That if I was a Raiders fan going through it year on year, I wouldn't be stoked about it.
Yeah, look, I'll start with a bit of bombshell information about myself for the faithful Bloke in the Bar listeners, boys. And that is that I'm not the most analytical, political mind of all time.
I think none of us. Just to be clear, guys, the political side, don't listen to us about anything like that. We're just talking purely rugby league. So please, we're not here to talk about that. We're talking rugby league.
Yeah, boys, the political side of things has obviously had a massive impact in this decision with PNG. And I was a bit surprised at the negativity around it all when it first got announced. I love the expansion and the growth, and the game's in such good place at the moment that I'm just like, go for it. I do wish they sort of ventured into NZ and the second team there. I think there's such good opportunity to have a crack at second side over there, but they haven't gone that way, and they've gone to a country where rugby league is the national sport, which we can't say about Australia with rugby league. So I think it's worth a crack. I don't know the logistics of how it's all going to play out. Like, a lot of people saying, like, how are you going to convince people, even with enough money, to move over to PNG and be based there? Is that going to happen, or are they going to be based out of Cairns and train there and play a few games over in PNG? Are they expecting players to go live in like Port Moresby? Because if that's the case, I think they're playing with fire, and that's going to be extremely hard to do. But I just assumed maybe they'd be based out of Cairns, or...
Well, the way it's tough, because if you want, like, and look, I can't speak for anyone from PNG, but my assumption would be, if you're putting on that jersey, you should be representing us, you should be living here. Like, I can totally get that argument. However, I'm assuming there probably is going to be a gated community there, that they spend a certain amount of time of the year over in PNG, and then maybe they spend the rest of the year, like maybe it's split half-half maybe, potentially. They haven't actually confirmed exactly how it's going to work. But I see what you mean, like getting them over. However, like, look, there are so many young people out there that do FIFO work, fly in, fly out, that get paid way less than what you're going to get paid. Like, if you're a young 22-year-old and someone says, we'll offer you, you're a young half, and for a young half that's not playing first grade, but he's a good half and he's there for depth, you're probably going to get about $400,000 a year in today's game, which is insane. It's so good to see the young players get paid this well. Now you go to that same young half that's a good young half. He's behind one of the best young other halves in the competition. Let's say he's behind Mitchell Moses or he's behind Nathan Cleary. Instead of getting $400,000, you're going to get $800,000 a year. As a 21-year-old without kids, maybe without a misso, all of a sudden you're going, you know what? I'll go over there for 3 or 4 years, make absolute. I know it's a hard sell. It's definitely a hard sell, and you're probably going to get the cream of the crop. However, I do think, and I've got my little joker card in the deck that I'm going to bring out to you later. It's a little joker card in the deck. So I'm going to
Don't touch that dial.
Don't touch that dial. I do understand what you're saying, though. It will be a hard sell. I think that if you can get lucky with a few key like guys that are just about to play first grade, it could be it could work.
And sorry, it says a $200 million village will be built for players and staff. They haven't confirmed they'll be definitely living there.
I reckon they'll split it. I reckon they'll split it.
But a lot
like, for example, doing a pre-season in PNG, so hot.
But a lot of resources are being put into that.
Yeah.
So.
It's a good point around, like, obviously the payment side of things, because I think marquee players who are on $1 million a year, they're probably not going to go, for an extra $400K instead of living in Bondi, I'll go and live in Port Moresby sort of thing. But you said the tier down from that, if they can just build this rock solid sort of mid-tier roster, and I could be wrong, maybe the marquees do go over there.
Here's a good example, and sorry to interrupt you. Imagine Hammer when he came to the Dolphins, he probably got offered like, what, 400 or 500K? Imagine he got offered $1 million because it's tax-free. That is like...
A lot of coin.
That's a lot of coin, and you're probably only going to spend half the year there. Not to discount your point, I agree with it. It's going to be a tough sell, especially for the top tier.
But that being said, I just think there's so much opportunity in PNG, so I'm all for the team, and without knowing all the logistics going into it, because, geez, it's going to be a big job.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on Rue just talking about, the Raiders, notoriously hard to get people to move down there as a Raiders fan? Yeah,
I feel it, but I think it's also, probably not fair to compare moving countries and it's compared to moving to Canberra.
I think Rue's more point, well, and you can speak Rue, but it's more just like it has been a challenge for the
100% it has.
Raiders recruitment compared to everyone else, it's probably the hardest recruitment out of the lot.
It's frustrating as hell, and I've accepted that a long time ago that is what it is. So, but I also understand, and look, every sport does it, and like I know AFL clubs do it.
They did in Sydney.
Yeah, I know.
They get an extra salary cap.
AFL clubs do it with salary caps and draft spots and all that sort of stuff. That for new franchises to work, they have to be given bonuses. But I suppose at some point, if PNG is to work and 5-10 years down the track, as a Raiders fan, well, that has to mellow out and make sure they're not getting this for 10 plus years kind of thing. But 100% I see the point, and it will be a little bit frustrating. But I also, as a rugby league fan, want to see the game grow, and especially internationally. Like, that excites me so much.
In regards to expansion to other areas, like whether you are pro PNG expansion or you think it's not going to work, I think the core question is, in my opinion, is Landy's is essentially the leader of the game. He had two choices. He had $600 million on the table from taxpayers' it's taxpayers' money. You know, again, guys, I'm not going to get into the political side. I don't know. I'm not educated enough to have a comment on that. Same with everyone here.
DM guru.
Yeah, DM guru. He's a political guy.
Loves it.
Whether it's right or wrong,
Politics guru.
I'm not educated in that. What I am educated in is rugby league to a degree. Us certain people, I'm not. And so he had a question of like, the question really is, you got $600 million on the table for the game of rugby league. To get, is it a yes or no answer? I think most of us would say yes, take it. Like, yeah?
Yeah.
Like, for example, let's say the headline tomorrow read, Australian government offered Blandy 600 mil for rugby league. He said no. I think a lot of rugby league fans would be like, what? Let's do it. Because with that 600 million, about 68 million of it goes to the current NRL clubs because they dilute their share in the game slightly because there's an extra team. 68 million over the next 4 or 5 years. That's a lot of money to clubs that are already here. And I mean, obviously you've got to give them a bit of a carrot because, you know, they've got to agree to another club to come into the competition. But that is, me personally, I think that's the core question is like, yes, there are so many things that can go wrong. I get it. I totally do. But the core question is, there was $600 million on the table for rugby league as a game. Should you take it? I think you should. I think you should.
Is it more 400 million because you got to spend 200 million on the compound facilities over there?
No, I think that would be
separate.
That'd probably I actually didn't get the budget.
Yep. If you got the budget, leave it in the comments below. We'd love to,
if you got the budget for that 600 million, now for example, the $200 million facility.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that would be separate in regards to like it could be privately owned.
Yep.
So maybe there's I don't know if that would come inside the 600 million.
Yep.
Could you imagine the scenes and if in 10, 20, 30, whenever the hell it is, if they win an NRL premiership over there?
Well, everyone said the Queensland Cup wouldn't work. Not everyone, but a lot of people said they won comps in the first few years.
Yeah.
The upside, if they do pull this off, is monumental for the game.
Yep.
Huge. Absolutely huge. I'm just trying to think. Matty, could you get the PNG Hunters, since they came into the Queensland Cup, what they finished in the NRL? I know there was a few lean years, but they've won. I'm pretty sure they've won a Queensland Cup before. So I know there's going to be challenges. Okay, guys, you ready for the Joker card?
Oh yeah.
Here's the Joker card. This is how you make it work. This is how you recruit some of the best to the PNG side. Bellamy. You get the NRL to pay him whatever he wants to be the coach of the PNG side, because by that stage, by 2028, Munster may have moved on, Hughes may have moved on, he may have won a premiership already. He's been talking about quitting as a coach for years, and granted, I know that he signed a 5-year deal, I think 2 years ago. I think the 2028 would line up on that last year. Also, Tripp, who is a very successful businessman, and he's essentially the director of the Melbourne Storm.
Yep.
Bellamy going to him and saying, hey, the Broncos are interested, or hey, this Roosters are interested, or the Raiders, or whoever. Like, obviously, as a Melbourne Storm director, you're very against that because they're the rivals, they're the arch nemesis, all that kind of stuff. Whereas if Bellyache was like, look, I'm going to coach the PNG side for the betterment of the game, and not to suggest that Tripp has the final say. What I'm saying is to release him from a contract if he's got a year or two, it would be much easier to release him to a PNG side, I guess, than current established sides that have been rivaled for many, many years. And so I think the way you get it to work to be able to recruit, because there are a lot of players that would almost sign for a normal salary just to play under Craig Bellamy. Like, there are a lot of gun players that wouldn't even need the double tax, with the tax-free salary cap to go and play under Bellamy. So I reckon if you're the NRL, you just offer him literally blank check, whatever he wants, to get him over there for the first few years to build the PNG side.
I think it's a great idea. And once again, I look back at the Dolphins when they came into the comp, a great part of the world to live in. They had Wayne Bennett. They had all the boxes ticked, and they weren't able to get a marquee player. As far as we were concerned, they managed to get Hamiso and these guys. But if you go back and have a look at that round one side for the Dolphins that beat the Roosters, there's a handful of established first graders that they managed to get realistically. Wayne just got the best out of all those guys. They're going to need someone like that as head coach to get people.
You're not going to get people over with a rookie coach or a coach that has been coached for another NRL club and he got moved on or whatever. You're going to need a Bellamy.
Yeah,
and that's where I reckon the NRL just opens and says, mate, literally, how much do you want? Is it $5 million? What is it? What do you want to get over there? Because if you Bellamy over there, there are a lot of managers even that would say to their best young talent, just go over there for 3 or 4 years.
100%.
You'll set your whole career up. And also, you know that $300,000 contract that you would have got at another club? It's now $600,000 and you're under bellyache.
Yeah, previously guys are taking less to play under Bellamy. Now they're taking double to play under.
Double to play under bellyache. That's how I think you can make it work. Blank check for Craig Bellamy. What do you got there, Matty?
So PNG come in 14. They came 6, but they didn't have a top 8. So they came 6, which was out of the finals, then prelim, then they made the finals, then they won, then they had a few lean years. They made the prelim again 2 years ago, and then last year they came 8th. So not
Have they been in for 10 years in the Q Cup?
Yeah.
Wow.
You know what I mean? I understand there's going to be challenges, but it's already. I know it's Queensland Cup, but that's a competitive side in Queensland Cup.
Oh, sorry, I made a huge mistake. They didn't come 8th last year. That's just their alphabetical order for this year. So they made the prelim last year.
They made the prelim last year. You know, so it
great
has
sample
worked.
size
Yeah,
too.
it has worked. And also, you'd make an argument that the PNG Hunters have way less resources than what you're going to get in NRL. So I just think when you look at that, only a step down from NRL, there's more. You could argue there's more evidence that it would work than it's not going to work. Because the PNG Hunters, they're not recruiting. They don't have double the salary cap of all these other teams in the Q Cup. They're just mostly using PNG talent. I just think there's a bit of evidence that could work.
And as you said, mate, look at all the logistics of it and the finances, yada, yada. But 3 to 5 years of, if there is poor results, who cares? That won't be the measuring stick. But in 3 to 5 years' time, when the PNG locals, there's so many supremely talented athletes over there in and around development systems and NRL systems over there, what that's going to be coming into our game, the impact that'll have, and filling out the PNG team, it's like I said, the vision is not for them to win a comp in 3, 4, 5 years' time. Maybe they win it in 10 years' time, but it's be competitive in 4, 5, 6, 7 years' time and long game.
Put it this way. Imagine, granted, I understand New Zealand is a different country to PNG in regards to infrastructure and everything going on there. Imagine the All Blacks were playing in the NRL every week. Because that's what it could be like in PNG. They got more people over there. It's their national sport. They could have their version of the All Blacks playing in the NRL every single week. That is genuinely what the vision would be eventually. Imagine, I'll take it a step down. Imagine the New Zealand Warriors just had the Kiwi side every week. Because that's what you could build in PNG. Yeah. That's what you could build.
11 million fans of one team.
That's what I mean. It's their national sport. Yeah. And you could make the argument PNG, at the very least, just as passionate about rugby league as Kiwis are about union. You could make the argument they're more passionate. Granted, I understand that the infrastructure in New Zealand as a living standard is different, but that's what we're hoping to try and improve with rugby league. What do you got there, Manny?
Oh, just a few numbers. So the 600 million, 290 of it from the government goes towards the NRL team. 250 goes towards helping rugby league in Pacific, including Samoa, Tonga, Fiji. And then the remaining 60 million will be split among the rest of the clubs.
That's another thing as well. Could it eventually, you've got Samoa and Tonga. Imagine how much talent is on those islands right now, just sitting there.
Just sitting there.
And then you go, maybe there's programs put throughout Samoa, Tonga, Fiji, where it's like, we fly you over and we put you in the PNG system. It's a little bit closer, I'm assuming, to it. Maybe it's not, but it could be a program. They just said they're going to spend a couple $100 million on it. All of a sudden, it's not just the PNG base. It's a base of the whole Pacific nation. And then you're talking like the cream of the crop talent. Like you're talking the best of the best. So it's just a matter of, is the money being spent correctly and the people in the right managed positions? That's what it comes down to, in my opinion. Alrighty, massive. Just a quick shout out to Reborn Fitness. That's where we shot our bloke undies ads. So massive shout out. If you're in Cronulla, head down to Reborn Fitness, located in Caringbah, and also a shout out quickly to Rusty Rabbit, who put on all the coffees for us when we went down to Airlocker Fitness. They do catering, so go to their Instagram. If you need some catering done, go to Rusty Rabbit's Instagram. They've also got cafes in Darlinghurst and at St. Leonard's. Question: would you rather win a grand final and be the Clive Churchill medalist, or be the front man of a rock band in front of 90,000 people?
Please, miss me with the music. I'll take the Clive. Thanks for coming.
Rock band.
Yeah, rock
Can you
band?
imagine being in front of 90,000 people and you've got 90,000 people just like lead singer just salivating over you and that spectacle? I think it'd be unbelievable. And Maddie and I had a great convo about this on the weekend. We did say that, well, I did say, for the event itself, I'd prefer rock band, but the team aspect of the post celebrations and being able to do it with the blokes you'd worked with all year for, I'd like to celebrate more in the footy context, but for the moment itself, I'm going the rock band.
What if you won a comp with the Raiders and you were the Clive Churchill medalist?
Yeah, I still think being a rock star would be pretty
I don't know if they're equal as well. Like rock star in front of 90,000, that would make you one of the biggest rock stars in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it would almost be like man of the match in a soccer World Cup final. I'm going grand final Clive Churchill every day of the week. Like, you're with your mates. It's like you've worked together for the whole year. There's an argument to be made, like sport is a harder endeavour than singing. Like you could argue that, you know, did you get to become that superstar in rock band, like in a rock band because you knew people in the industry? You were just naturally gifted with your talent. Whereas, like, I feel like sport, it's a harder thing to. You could argue it's a harder thing to achieve. Granted, I know there are plenty of rock stars out there that like work their absolute backsides off.
The thing is, like, in terms of that moment of like euphoria, the rock star goes out and plays a show. He knows he's going to kill it. Like, he's been there and done it before. The moment of like, you have to bust your ass for 80 minutes going under pressure. Am I going to do this? Can I deliver? To deliver and get the win, like that would be unbelievable.
Well, there's something also about professional sport, especially rugby league, where at least as men, if you said like I was a NRL player that won a grand final, like there's a timeless tradition of almost like you're seen as like a gladiator. Like there's a respect from most blokes with that. Whereas if you were walking up and say I'm a rock star, I don't know if you automatically get that respect from blokes. Whereas like winning a Clive Churchill in an NRL grand final, most blokes are like, wow, that is impressive.
To emphasise, frontman, we're not talking about the bass player. No one cares about the bass player.
What do you reckon, Hammy?
Well, if you're playing in front of 90,000 people, frontman of a rock band, you're probably doing that regularly, I reckon. Like, you get a bit numb to it after a while. The novelty probably, doesn't necessarily wear off, but like, as Timmy said, you got to go out and kill it. You don't have to put your body through as much, I'd say. You're not as knocked up.
Well, maybe after the
yeah, that's true. But I just reckon because, the point around grand final, you're with a team, you've worked towards it, you've busted your ass for a whole year or several years in many cases to reach that point. It's probably like more of a rare thing to achieve. Not as many people have done it, I'd say, as being a frontman of a rock band. I don't know, actually.
That's a tough one.
That's a tough one. But I reckon I would take the grand final Clive Churchill.
Yeah, I'd take grand final Clive Churchill. Also, with the rock band, I think it's not luck. I don't want to discount how hard they'd work, but I think that more hard work would probably go into winning a Clive Churchill and winning a grand final than, like, if you were to measure how much work the grand final Clive Churchill person did in their whole life to be where they're at, and how much work the rock star did. Although the rock star, I'm sure, worked hard, I'm assuming that the sportsman probably worked a little bit harder. And so that payoff might be bigger.
Yeah. Doesn't happen. Well, it doesn't happen as often winning a grand final being Clive. Like even, Cleary's won 2 Churchills and grand finals.
Yeah, whereas rock stars,
whereas Chris Martin played 180 shows,
and he picks his date. Like he's saying, all right, on this date, I'm going to be performing. Cleary has to have a lot of things go his way to even get to that grand final.
Yeah, I'm going grand final Clive Churchill. There is nothing better than working towards something with your mates and winning it with your mates.
To clarify, I'm thinking of like as a standalone event, the days after it with your teammates that you've earned it and partying on, that swings a little bit, but... Good
hey, don't try and backtrack now, mate. You went rock band. I
don't like going against the pack. I'm the only one. Am I wrong?
Okay, Cowboys. John Bateman, rumoured to join the Cowboys. Tom Chester has done his ACL. Devastating news for the young fella. Far out. There's not much to say in situations like this. Hopefully he'll be back better than ever. He's, 20 years old. He's got plenty of time to recover. And also, you look at guys like Tedesco. They did like 3... Sorry?
23.
He's 23. But you look at guys like Teddy, like he did 3 or 4 of them, and he's became one of the best fullbacks we've ever seen. So, there's definitely evidence that you can come back better and bigger and better. John Bateman, room for the Cowboys. This one for me, it came out of nowhere because like edge back rowers for me. I know they lost Finucane to the Dolphins. But edge back row is kind of the last thing I thought they kind of needed at the moment. Don't get me wrong, Johnny Bateman at his best is going to be an asset to any forward pack, but definitely come out of nowhere for me.
So fucking random. Like when I read, it's just, going to South Sydney, that made so much sense to me. This one, I just can't really get my head around it. I don't. Once again, as you said, if you get John Bateman at his absolute best, he's a great signing anywhere. But yeah, I have my concerns around it. So yeah, I'm 50-50.
I was just picturing an Englishman in John Bateman doing a pre-season in Townsville, but that circled me back to imagine doing a pre-season with Craig Bellamy in PNG.
Oh,
how hard that'd be!
Oh my god!
I didn't see it coming. It seems a weird. I just cannot picture John Bateman in a Cowboys jersey. Footy wise though, I don't mind it. I think they're a bit light on for depth in their pack. And I think there'll be he and Lukey and Jeremiah and Nanai on the edges. But if one of those two goes down, now that they've lost Finny Furiaki, there's probably someone I'm forgetting, but a little bit light on. I think
you put him through the middle then, because he is mobile. He's super mobile.
Sorry?
That's what I was thinking.
Do you put him through the middle?
No, for sure. That's what I'm saying. But I'm if one of the edge back rows goes down, who's next in line? Rue's getting a squad up and can suss it, but you play him through the middle, you probably play him off the bench. You look at Taumalolo, he's getting on, has his injury concerns, McLean, etc. I think he adds some really quality depth to them across middle and edge. I like it.
Hammy?
Yeah, look, good luck to Johnny. As Bruce said, is his best. He's a great signer, but I don't think we saw his best when he came back here. I know it was at the Tigers and people go, how many players go there and don't do it? But, there were players that played well for them this year and players that do go there and still kill it. Appy, obviously Galvin came through this year. I just don't think he's the player he was. So, good luck to him if he heads up there. But I don't think you're getting the John Bateman that took the Raiders to a grand final a few years ago.
They're also not paying anywhere near that. He wouldn't be on. Would they get him on?
I think, as I said, him playing even close to his best footy, he's a great asset for any team. It's just Peyton Bateman. Those two, I don't know. Will they clash?
Some budding heads.
Yeah. Will they clash? I don't know. Maybe not. I'm not sure. But Bateman at his best, as I said, I honestly think Bateman is best. Any forward pack, literally in the competition, could use Bateman at his best. Even at 90% of his best. So from that perspective, I really like it. I guess I'm just looking at their rotation. So you've got guys like Taumalolo, McLean signed for one more year, I'm pretty sure. Then you would be bringing on, obviously, Cotter would be playing 13. McIntyre, who was outstanding last year towards the end. So you'd probably be bringing him on with him and McIntyre together, I'd assume.
The other big one that, I almost completely forgot he was up there. Cohen Hess returns this year too.
With bloody Cohen Hess. So I guess you'd have Cohen Hess.
Griffin Neame.
Doesn't he fly under the radar?
Yep.
Well, I tell you what, if a depth signing, he's unbelievable depth signing. To be able to bring him in, because he would have to either take McIntyre's, Hess's spot on the bench, and then he would be the third forward, you reckon?
Yeah, probably. They've also signed Kai O'Donnell, who was with you guys. Who I always really liked him. Thought he went to the Super League way too early. So their depth is better than what I thought it was, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, maybe from Peyton likes him from a real gritty, tough kind of perspective, and he thinks the forward pack needs a bit of mongrel about him because he does offer that.
I think if they don't sign him and they'll get to round 5 and they lose 2 forwards, they might only be to short-term injuries. We're going, that pack's looking pretty light on. I think John Bateman helps that a hell of a lot.
Would he be willing to sign, though, to be a fringy?
Well, I don't think he's a fringy. I think he plays off the bench and he plays, anywhere from 30 to 50 minutes. I think he's in their best 17 off the bench.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think that, as I said, him at his best, it's just come out of nowhere. Him up north as well with the heat. Holy heck, wow. But I actually can see him in a Cowboys jersey. I don't know why. I can see him in a Cowboys jersey. I think when you look, I'm just trying to look at their forward pack, and I go, mongrel-wise, he does add a point of difference mongrel-wise, getting in the nitty-gritty, getting down and dirty. I look at the other players that they've got, and they're just workers. They're just, workmanlike, whereas Bateman, he'll get in the nitty-gritty. Also, if an edge back rower does, and Lukey has had a few injuries over the last few years, if he were to get injured, he'd be all of a sudden it's a genius signing. I think the most thing that's just taken me aback is just the Cowboys. I looked at it and I thought, South for sure. Him under Wayne Bennett, the English connection.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here going.
Yeah. I do want to just like speculating, but the Bateman rumours and the Tom Chester injury have come at a similar time. I do wonder if, and I don't know how many spots they've got in their cap on their roster.
This Bateman was before the ACL happened.
Yeah, so I wonder if that changes things a little bit, because then they need to go in for like a Tom Chester type replacement rather than another forward.
Yeah,
it'd be interesting.
There. Alrighty. As I said, him at his best, any forward pack could use him. I'm interested to see where he lands. Reece Robson management reportedly offered him to the Raiders as he was interested in playing under Ricky Stewart. However, the Raiders were reportedly not interested. They're putting their faith in young gun Owen Paddy. Man, this one, I know Rue has a different opinion on this. This one blew my mind. Reece Robson, I mean, when we talk about perfect dummy halves for that forward pack, Ricky Stewart, if you're Owen Paddy, I mean, you'd almost be playing your life for him. That is the show of confidence that Ricky Stewart has put in Owen Paddy to knock back a guy like Reece Robson is incredible. I mean, the way I see it though, if I'm the Raiders, surely you offer him at least like, look, we've got a 2-3 year deal for you, and then Owen Paddy is ready to go by that second or third year. Do you think Owen Paddy's ready to go this year?
Probably not this year. I think you'll see him debut at some point. I think next year though. I think the money they probably would have had to have paid to get Robson down there, I think they will get better value out of Owen Paddy personally.
Really? See, I'm of the mind, if the New South Wales hooker comes on in the peak of his career, I think you just got to get him. You've got to get him. What do you reckon, Timmy?
Yeah, I thought Reece Robson would be an unbelievable signing for us. And we're crying out for a number 9, and as you said, it's Ricky Stewart. He's done it to so many players in recent years and across his coaching career, but just instilling belief and going, no, I'm not necessarily saying, oh, Paddy, you're our man, but like it's also vouching for Danny Levi and Tom Stanley. No, boys, I back you. You can do it. But, oh, my God, to me, we're crying out for an out-and-out gun number 9, especially one with a bit of experience in that in what will be a very inexperienced spine, probably outside of Jamal Fogarty. And I'm just like looking at Owen Paddy's stats from New South Wales Cup this year, 3 games starting, a bunch off the bench. Most he played was 71 minutes. The rest off the bench were a lot of like 20, 30-minute games. Even if he does come on, say, sort of next year or the year after, whether or not he's an 80-minute hooker, I'm not sure, but you boys talk about it all the time. You love a split hooker rotation. Why can't you have a Reece Robson starting and Owen Paddy in his early years in the NRL, if he is as good as we speculate that he is, plays 30 minutes.
Robson can play 13.
Yeah,
like, he absolutely can play 13.
It didn't need to necessarily be a 5-year deal for Reece Robson.
Yeah,
it could
3
be
years.
2 or 3 sort of thing. Yeah,
I'm offering Reece Robson absolutely, if I'm the Raiders, 2 to 3 year deal, and saying, and if I'm fully backing Owen Paddy in, I'm saying to him, there's a chance, Reece, that we're going to move you by that second or third year. You'll be playing 20 minutes at hooker, and the rest of the game is going to be at 13.
And he just seems like a perfect fit for the Raiders. Like as you said, has always wanted to play under Ricky Stewart. Tough as nails. Seems like ripping bloke. Country boy.
Yeah, from Queensland. I'm not sure where from Queensland.
Yeah.
From Queensland.
No, he's from, as in Owen Paddy?
No, Reece Robson.
Reece Robson. He's from northern New South Wales.
Right.
I was like Queenslander. I'm like, that's interesting.
I think it's about Paddy, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, he seemed like he'd be an awesome fit for the Raiders.
Yep.
But anyway.
I understand backing, young fellas, and, in a couple of years, if Owen Paddy turns out to be, everything that we all hope he will be, it's going to be a stroke of genius from Ricky Stewart, because that backing from him is unbelievable. But I'm just of the mind, though, what we do know for sure is Reece Robson is the current New South Wales hooker and in the Australian squad. We've already seen young 9s come through that are super, super promising, but it takes them a few years to hit their straps. I think that you can be a very promising rookie, but if you've already got the New South Wales hooker interested, surely I'm taking Reece Robson. At the very least, I'm going Reece Robson on a 2-year deal with maybe a 3rd-year option in our favour, in a club favour, and basically just saying to Owen, mate, learn as much as you can off Reece Robson over the next 2 years. Because, even just the mentorship from Reece Robson over the next 2 years, it's going to make Owen Paddy an even better number 9. I'm taking Reece. But in saying that, if Owen Paddy turns out to be incredible, it'd be one of the great calls all time from Ricky Stewart.
The mighty Murwillumbah Colts. Thank God he just snuck into the state.
Yeah, very nice.
Just got him.
What do you reckon?
Yeah, it's interesting. Not often that the Raiders get a big superstar. Like, I want to come. I want to be there. I want to be there. And they go, yeah, nah.
I'll take unders. I just want to play in Canberra.
Yeah.
And he suits exactly what a Raiders player. Like, he is tough. He's humble. He's respectful. And also, like, as a 9, like, that forward pack, he's perfect. He's so perfect.
Yeah. It's very strange that they said no, but that is like obviously a massive rap on Owen Paddy. But
I will say, in the Raiders' defence, I do respect Ricky Stewart and the Raiders club. They've got a plan. It's locked in, and they're not deviating from it. You've got to respect that, because how often do clubs almost, like, something comes up and they already had this plan in place, but they're like, oh, this really good player's okay, we'll go out and buy him, and that literally just like ruins their whole next 5-year plan because they spent all this money.
Yeah,
I do respect that from the Raiders at the very least.
Ricky knows what he's got.
Well, that's it. It seems so obvious to us. There's always more than meets the eye. There'd be reasoning, but
you can be the best coming out, like the best in the country in that position. It is still a lifetime away from being the current New South Wales hooker in the peak of their career. Like, no one can predict. Because, like, basically what you're saying here, or I don't know if you're saying this, but you could assume you're basically saying Owen Paddy's going to be playing for his state in 2 or 3 years' time. Because that's what you could have replaced him with, the current state hooker.
Yeah, but you got to look at the value that they were going to sign him for, though, and how much they were going to get out of both players. We also don't know how much Robson was willing to go there for. Yeah, I want to be in Canberra. I'll be in Canberra for $2 million.
I don't think salary cap. I don't think they've got like salary cap issues. I don't think the Raiders are tight. Like, I think they've probably got spare money a lot of the time.
Yeah, but okay.
You got to. I mean, he always, not always, but Ricky Stewart has been vocal about his inability to recruit people to the club, how hard it is. And then Reece Robson, look, who knows? Maybe it's not even. Maybe it's a half truth. Maybe it was he wanted to come down on a massive wicket, and that was the. Maybe Ricky Stewart's gone, look, that's just way too much. We're not paying $900,000 for a hooker.
Yeah, and if it's $900K, I would 100% go with Paddy.
Yeah, so interesting. But Reece Robson lands at the Roosters. I tell you what, again, the backing that Ricky Stewart gives his players. If you're in with Ricky Stewart, geez, you're in. There's not many more coaches that back you till the death if you're in his circle, It's going to be interesting. I can't wait to see Reece Robson, though, at the Roosters to see what they do there. It was interesting to hear Trent Robinson talk about on the radio, like, why they decided to recruit Reece Robson. And he basically said he looks back at the times that they'd won comps and they had a hooker that was a really good defender and had great service. And, like, Reece Robson suits the bill. If anything, he's very similar to Jake Friend, like, very similar. Alrighty, time for Beak's Bag. When are you boys got to leave?
11:30.
11:30. All right, time for Beak's Bag. This is from ND Marshmallow, N8 9804. As always, guys, leave a question in the comment section, and then we choose one each week for Beak's Bag, and you get a $50 bloke voucher. Here is a question from Marshmallow 9804. Should teams be able to have more players on the bench but only be allowed to use 4 of them? Example, have 7 players on the bench and use the 4 you see fit. Make sure to email Matt at Bloke in a Bar to claim your $50 voucher, Marshmallow 9804. We've spoken about this a little bit on the podcast. I like the art of picking a bench. I think it's such a... We go back to Origin this year, like, honestly, most of the chat was around benches. And even Origin in the past, New South Wales lost an Origin and the chat was about the wrong selections on the bench. I think that having as many players essentially as you want on the bench, it takes away from that art. I think that keep it as it is. I like the fact that you have to make a choice between having a lighter bench, a heavier bench, an outside back bench, all that stuff. I like that tactical part of rugby league. I think it's a big part of it. And I think that if we were to lose that, we would actually lose a lot of the uniqueness in team setups and team builds. Like, basically, if we were to lose that, I think it would get to a point where you wouldn't even be dissecting team makeups anymore. It would look pretty similar most of the time. So I like the fact that we only have 4 bench spots.
I tend to lean towards your side, Kempy. I think 7 is too many. I would be more than happy if you picked 5 on your bench and you only got to use 4 of them. I think that'd be a happy medium with HIAs and everything that goes on in the game, every single week nowadays. I'd be happy if you picked 5 and you're only allowed to use 4 of them, but I wouldn't go any further than that.
Yeah, I think you summed up well, Kempy. Agree with those sentiments. And I'm also with you, Guru, in that I could entertain the idea of 5 and being able to use 4. The other thing with if you were going as many as 7, you need to think about depth and what that does to the grades below. And then that's, 3 or so players a week who aren't then playing New South Wales Cup, which impacts that. And then there's, there might be someone stuck in that little bubble that's break in case of emergency sort of thing, break glass, where they might not play for 2, 3, 4 weeks and not get time under their belt. So I think it's good as is. Could maybe get around like a five-player bench.
I'm with you. I like the art of picking a bench. I like that it's not easy. You got to think hard about it. It kind of shows the style that you want to play as well. You're spot on. This year it was the biggest talking point, and it is every year around Origin. I know that's a specific type of the game where there's only 3 of them, so there's a lot of chat anyway. But I just think there's a lot of tactics that go into it, and I wouldn't change. Yeah,
I like the fact that it can genuinely make or break a game. It adds to that. The build-up, it adds to the tactical side, adds to the discussion around it.
I think it also adds to your just year in, year out recruitment and who's in your squad, and having those players can cover centre, second row, and having them in your side.
Well, it'd kill the utility, wouldn't it? Essentially. If you could have 7 on the bench, it'd essentially kill the utility. You just carry each position.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yep.
Like there would be some guys that could play.
Yes.
But it would, Connor Watson's value goes dramatically down if there's 7 people on the bench. But at the moment, the way the game is, Connor Watson is like, it took game 1, New South Wales fans were like, oh, what's going on? He gets selected on the bench, and all of a sudden everyone's like, love it.
And for the same reasons, like it just kills, like rugby league's transitioned into that smaller, more mobile, fitter forward, and the big guys sort of becoming slightly redundant, not all the time, but in the game, because I love that it's gone towards be this fit, be the best version of yourself that you can. You just use this big 4-forward bench, and because you have every position covered, you just save one in case of an injury, and we're all good.
Alrighty, Isaah Yeo has won Golden Boot. It's the first Australian to win since Cameron Smith in 2017. We spoke about this a bit on Friday. I would have gone Turbo. However, I'm happy with this just because I want Isaah Yeo to win something. And also, he was unbelievable in that last game. Like, his defence was crazy. I just wanted him to win something and get the recognition he deserves. And I look at Isaah Yeo and I just think that there are very few players with the breadth of skill set that he has. He can be a front rower in Origin and be, at Clubland, he can have almost the ball playing of some sixes. That's how good his ball playing is. He can have the footy IQ of some halves. He's one of the best defenders in the competition. Like, the breadth of play that he has is truly unique and incredible. And I'm just so glad that he's finally... I know he's got recognition before, but just to stamp it, the fact that, Golden Boot, I know it's just from international games, but there is this still lingering sense of best player in the world. And I think in any other scenario, he's probably just not going to ever get that award because, we just got so many players in the NRL that kind of... They're more highlight friendly. Whereas Isaah Yeo, to get this award, it really does show he is one of the best players in the world. And he doesn't really get talked about enough. When you talk about, name your top 10 NRL players right now, a lot of fans might not even have Isaah Yeo on the top 20. But in reality, he's a co-captain of the most dominant side in history, in my opinion. And I'm glad he got some recognition for his abilities.
Yeah, he's a top 5 player in this comp for me. Week to week, he's incredible. He never has a bad game. And you're right, these awards just seem to elude him constantly. He's locked forward. He's never going to win a Dally M medal. If little things went his way, he could have 2 Clive Churchills by this point. He's been that good in all those grand finals. Liam Martin was my Clive this year. I think you were very close to going Isaah Yeo.
I think I said Isaah Yeo. Isaah Yeo.
And if Isaah Yeo won it, you wouldn't have heard anything from me because he was incredible. He's obviously going to win Dally M locks of the year and whatnot. Probably not as many as he should, but I think this is the one big award that I'm just happy to see him win. And I find the Golden Boot a bit of a weird thing, what it means, and it's, as you said, it still sort of has that idea of best player in the world kind of thing. It's actually for internationals, even the way it was announced and everything. I didn't even know it was happening. Just sort of popped up. Something
very random time to announce.
It's an odd little thing.
Yeah. First time ever forwards going back-to-back in it after James Fisher-Harris won it last year, which is very cool. I'm so happy for him. I think it's well-deserved. I'm with you, Kempy. I think I would have given it to Tom Trbojevic, but for that reason I just mentioned around first-time forwards back-to-back, it's so easy to give it to a backline player, like a halves player, who generally tend to win it because they have the big moments. They're the flashy players, but it's almost like just disregarding the fact that forwards, set the platform for them. And Isaah Yeo, on top of that, not only is he such a key forward, but he's the 5th member of the spine and has helped define that 13 ball playing lock over the last 5-6 years. So completely deserved. Yeah. Good luck to him.
I love it. And it just, you look at I think his tackle efficiency this year was like 97.5% or something like that. He goes whole seasons and he misses like 10 tackles the whole season and makes like 50 a game. It is truly remarkable what he's doing. And, you know, look, of course, Nathan Cleary is the key to the premierships. Isaah Yeo isn't that far off. He really isn't. Like, you take him out of that side and do they win 4 in a row? I don't know if they do.
Probably not.
I don't know if they do.
I don't think so.
You know? And that, but I don't think a lot of people appreciate that because he is the workhorse. But you go back to some of those games this year where Penrith went playing nowhere near what we know they can play. He carried the side on his back. Like, honestly, the amount of games he won from this year. What do you got there, Matty?
For every 47 tackles he made this year, he missed one.
Yeah, in his last 72 games, he's missed 75 tackles from 2,852 attempts.
So every 47 tackles, he misses 1 tackle.
Yeah. And that was blown out by the grand final where he missed 4, which was
Shocker. Get him off the field. So every 47 tackles, he misses 1.
So before the grand final, he missed 16 tackles all year, but he ended up being 20.
And his tackle efficiency this year, he played 25 games, 98%. The year before, 24 games, 97%. The year before that, 23 games, 97%. That's including finals, biggest stages. He's a freak.
Unbelievable. And it's like, it's not like a lot of those stats usually belong to like guys that they're just the defensive guy.
Yeah.
Like that's his strength. Like his strength is he's not that strong of a ball runner. He doesn't ball play that much. He's not that important in attack, but he'll tackle his ass off. He's one of the most important in attack, and he's an incredible. His ball running is so good. He can play front row in Origin. Like it's just amazing. And he also co-captained the New South Wales side. Vice captain. He was captain when he was on the field. He was on the field for captain for most of it. He was a captain of the Australian side.
Yeah.
He just, he's not the greatest ever 13, in my opinion, yet. But conversations need to begin as to where does Isaah Yeo belong in the modern era of 13s. I think they need to start.
As more dominoes keep falling, you know, Kickout, Critter, Appy, Jerome, Penrith just keep staying on top, and he's front and centre again. It just keeps elevating him.
Yeah, and so I think the conversations need to begin of like, where does he fit? Like, you know, you look back and you go, okay, like Sammy Burgess when he's played 13, one of the greatest of the modern era.
Yeah.
Gal played a little bit of 13 as well. It's like when you look at Isaah Yeo's resume, it kind of is one of the best resumes of the lot.
Yeah.
Granted, I know it's a team, I get it, but he's the co-captain of the team.
Yeah, he's chasing Brad Clyde down very quickly.
Alrighty, you boys have got to head now. Alrighty, reportedly, Nico Hines has contacted all of the off-contract Sharks players and urged them to re-sign with the club, believing they are in a premiership window. Cam McInnes is expected to resign until the end of 2026. I love hearing this. I love hearing a senior player in a playing group calling the boys, and because like a lot of this, not a lot of this, but sometimes like you almost feel like you're overstepping the mark by like having these conversations. But when you've got a senior player actually calling you and saying we're in a premiership window, like it does build belief, and it makes you ask that question a lot more seriously of like, am I willing to take a little bit less to stay here to win a comp? And I think that Adam Fennell-Blake coming to the club, they got to a prelim last year. They're one game away from a grand final. Like, who's to say they can't? And I would still have Penrith and Melbourne as favourites.
Yeah.
But just one game. They get Adam Fennell-Blake at the club. Mulatalo's a year older. Katoa is a year older. Ramian. You know, you look at it and you go, why not? Why not?
They are in a premiership window. Yeah, they finished in the top 4 the 2 years previous to this year, and then this year they got the monkey off their back, won a couple of finals games, got to a prelim. They've got the skeleton there of a very good squad. If everyone's in their best form at the right time of the year, there's no reason they couldn't challenge for a comp. Obviously, Nico was out for a little bit of the year, came back at the end. If he had a full year under his belt and was
it's interesting, It doesn't get spoken about enough, but like he was injured for a lot of the year last year, and like they still finished in the top 4.
Exactly.
And they still won that game. And like anyone being honest, like he clearly when he came back, he didn't seem fully fit physically.
That's right. Yeah. And I mean, they're a better side next year on paper. They've recruited AFB, as you mentioned.
A whole year together with Trindle.
Exactly. Nikora re-signed as well. So,
when you got depth as well with Atkinson.
Yep.
Like crazy depth.
And Nico has been a little bit maligned and criticised for some of his form there. So to have him kind of being the guy leading the charge and ringing everyone and going, stay here, we're pretty close to something special. Yep. That's a pretty good sign. If you're a Sharks fan, you'd love to be hearing that.
I do. Look, I get it. I understand Sharkies fans are passionate, and I get there is a very reasonable discussion around, like, is Nico a 6? Is he a 7? Is he a fullback? Like, I get that for sure. But it does make me chuckle sometimes when I see, not critical Sharky fans, because that's reasonable. You're allowed to have your opinion. But when I see overcritical Sharkies fans about, like, Nico Hines, I'm like, think about where you are as a club right now.
Yeah.
Like, you're in a top 4 pretty much each year. I think it was one of the years they finished 6th. They got to a prelim this year, and they're in a premiership window. Like, a few years ago, before Fitzgibbon took over, like, they were lucky to make the 8.
Yeah.
Like, and I know they had their strong years under Flano, with Gal, with Luke Lewis, with Wade Graham. I get that for sure, but this is a Sharky side that's lost Al Finucane, they lost Wade Graham, and it does make me chuckle a little bit, like how used to success you get when people are hypercritical of the Sharkies, and you're like, mate, they're challenging for they're in a premiership window right now. They were years away from that a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Matty, what do you reckon, mate?
I think they're definitely in the premiership window. I'm excited for the Sharks this year. They're going to be well cemented in my top 4 when we do the season preview, and I don't blame Nico. He's just lost Daniel Atkinson. He's obviously, I read the article, he understands it, but he's obviously, upset about it, as you would be. I think they're definitely, they're bringing over Adam Fanua-Blake. Like, seriously. Besides Payne Haas, he's right up there with the best front rows in the comp.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Yeah, I think the Sharks are definitely a contender this year, and I'm 100% agree with what Nico says.
Yeah, I love it. And I think as Sharkies fans, like, think about how far this club has come. Like, granted, I know they won a premiership, but in regards to depth, they were in, I think, every single juniors grand final or something like that.
Yeah.
I think
they won all. Didn't they win all 5?
I don't know if they won them all, but they not definitely, but I'm pretty sure they were in every single one and they won a few of them.
They were at least in the prelim of every single one.
Like, as a club that's as small as Sharkies, because it's not a big club, Sharkies, to be there in the prelim, in the NRL, with all your junior sides, basically at least either winning a grand final or being in one, as in, when I say junior sides, I mean the 4 underneath the NRL, like, that's a crazy strong position to be as a club. And also, your head coach is a relatively young coach as well, and a rookie coach. Like, the club is in an incredible position.
So what I've noticed as well, some of the interviews that you've done, a couple haven't actually come out yet, but pretty much every Sharks player we have on here raves about Fitzy.
Yeah, they love him.
Raves about him.
Yeah.
So that's a great sign.
And talks about how, compared to other coaches they've had, how great Fitzgibbon is.
Yeah.
I think the Sharkies are absolutely in a premiership window. And
Agree.
I think as a club, they are super, super strong right now. Well, you could argue, even though they haven't won the comp, you could probably argue that they might be even in a stronger position than when they did win the comp, because, and I don't know if it's true that they are, however, I'd love to go back and find the year that they won the comp and see how their juniors went.
Yeah.
Because, like, that's what's so interesting at the moment, is like all their juniors are some of the best in the whole NRL and the whole of Australia. And that's what's exciting. Like, and I guess as well, you got to give Sharks raps for that Newtown side that won the interstate comp a few years ago. They're essentially all in first grade now. And that is a sign of a really good club that can take a player from essentially 17 years old all the way into first grade and build them into a pre. Like, that's a bloody good club. And I don't think the Sharkies get enough raps for it because they're a small club, relatively speaking. I don't mean that as an insult. I just mean in size wise. But if put it this way, if one of the big dog clubs were doing what the Sharkies were doing, we'd be hearing about it all the time.
Yeah.
Like, you'd hear about it all the time. So I love where the Sharkies are.
So Sharks won the Cup in 2016. In 2015, they won both the Harold Mats and the SG Ball.
So they won in 16 and 15 they
In the
won
year
in
before
20.
their juniors, yeah.
And then how did their juniors go in 16? Do you know how how their juniors went this year, as in how their Harold Mets and everything went this year, Harold Mats? So yeah, look, I love what's going on at the Sharkies. Young coach, Adam Fanua-Blake coming. I'm so interested to see Nico Hines with a full preseason behind Adam Fanua-Blake.
Yeah.
Just those quick play the balls he's going to get, and also the ball playing of Adam Fanua-Blake as well. It's going to be special. It's going to be special.
Fourth favourites, $13 to win the comp.
Yeah, okay.
They're around that top 4 mark again. But I think they're a better. They're going to be a better team on paper going into next year than they were this year. And then hopefully Nico doesn't have another injury interrupted year as well. Like, keep him fit all year and get him back to his best. They'll be a handful. And I don't say this in a insulting or a mean way, but like, because there's so much depth now in the halves for New South Wales, it just like spending 12 months not having to worry about that, like Nico Hines. And granted, I still think that there's a chance that we do find Nico Hines back in a Blues jersey
But just the idea of like, he's just been so unlucky anytime he's gotten a Blues jersey,
Yeah.
whether it's been, he becomes the half this year and they go down a man in the first few minutes of the game. And then he gets thrown on like the year before in the wrong position
centres.
at the wrong time.
Yep.
And in that situation where he missed that tackle, people forget Nathan Cleary missed the tackle before he missed that tackle.
Yep.
And look, no one loves Nathan Cleary more than me. It's not a crack at Nathan Cleary at all. It's more to say, hey, everyone misses tackles, guys.
Yep.
Like, it's not just Nico Hines. Everyone does. It's normal.
Yeah.
Reserve grade 1, Harold Matts made the prelim. Their women also made the grand final.
Yep.
SG Ball, they didn't go.
They didn't. So they're reserve grade what? 1?
Reserve grade 1,
Harold Matts.
which is
Prelim?
under 17s
Prelim.
prelim.
And their women won as well.
Their
Their
women-
women won the
their women were in the grand final.
Made the grand final against the Roosters, I'm pretty sure. What a bloody good spot to be in as a club. Alrighty, the GOAT, Tom Opacic. He's back. Tom Opacic has been doing a preseason with the Dolphins. Man, I tell you what, he is such a good example of, like, often we look at like the stars of squads, like guys that, are the highlight reel, they get paid the big bucks, and we forget about the toilers that like are almost the glue of the side. And I tell you what, ever since the Eels lost Opacic in that centre role, they've struggled to find a good defensive centre. Like he helped them in that grand final year so much defensively. I'm stoked to see him back. I hope he gets a run for the Dolphins.
Yeah, fins up. Get around him. So who will they probably have there at the moment in the centres? It will be Herbie and the Hammer will be back at fullback because Trey Fuller's out.
Yeah, because if Trey Fuller comes back, maybe move Hammer back there, but Hammer at fullback initially. But you'll have Herbie and Averillo probably.
Yeah, Averillo. Yep.
Herbie Averillo, and then you'd have the big fella on the wing. I can't.
Jermaine Isaah.
No, Jermaine Isaah, but the other Bostock, the
Yep.
big fella.
Good back line. Good depth signing. Good.
Bostock reminds me so much of Campbell Graham. I don't know.
Yeah. Similar body shape.
Yeah, way he moves,
Yep.
and also like super deceptive in what they do. Like you watch a game and you're like, oh, he was solid, didn't make many mistakes, and you go look at their run meters and it's like 180 run meters or something like that.
He's a better cook though than Campbell Graham.
I tell you what, Campbell Graham is who I'm excited to see back for the Rabbitohs. Jeez, talk about missing a player.
Yeah.
And also a guy that, like, you talk about timing and importance, like this close to playing Origin, injury keeps him out, and then Bradman Best comes in and kills it. Like, he's another guy. I don't think his Origin career's over. I reckon he'll somehow find his way back into that side. I don't know how. It's so stacked, but I've got confidence Stretch will find his way back in.
Yep.
Yeah, I think as well he's doing like I'm pretty sure he's like doing full training at the moment, like full contact, full everything. So, and I think someone told me he actually could have come back last year if we really needed him. So he's going to be fit, firing, ready to go. I'm so keen.
good.
We missed him last year.
Oh, did you what? And he just, because he's, I don't know, he just goes about his business. Like, he was the form player in the comp before. Yeah. He was literally one of the best players in the competition before Origin, before he got injured.
Yeah.
While he was injured. And then Origin happens, and then he obviously has to have the rest of the year out. So,
and like, it's funny what 18 months does, but he got picked in Origin. Then he was like 18th man or something, and then he had to withdraw. And then people were blowing up that Crichton got picked ahead of him.
Yeah, and
that was just 18 months
like,
ago. Now Crichton's the best centre in the comp. Basically.
I think he was picked to actually play.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah.
And then because he couldn't do the training throughout the week because he was injured, Freddie went with Critter.
Yeah, that was
because
he
couldn't train, and then obviously, it's crazy. But I think he'll find his way back there somehow, some way. I got faith in Cam. He is so bloody good. He's so good. Alrighty, let's face a bit of music. Brought to you by Sportsbet and predict a bit of boxing.
Yeah, let's do it.
Usyk versus Fury.
Usyk Fury.
Oh my God, their last fight. One thing, whether you hate or love Fury, his fights are some of the best boxing fights you'll ever see. They are always dramatic. There is always something crazy happening. Like, it's looking like he's dominating Usyk, or at least winning a lot of the rounds early on. And then Usyk is like this close to knocking him out. Like, so close to knocking him out. Like, wobbling all over the place. Looks like he's going to finish him and then eventually gets the win. I can't wait. If Tyson Fury has been committed and locked in training-wise, I think he can win. But if he is even in the slightest distraction, I think Usyk can win.
Yep. So Usyk's the $1.62 favourite. Fury's $2.45. Never rule out a draw in these big boxing freak shows. I reckon $17. But it'd be good to get a winner and also a method of victory. Now, I think it's going to be Tyson Fury points or decision, which is $5.20. Look, Fury's too hard to knock out. I think both these guys are probably a little bit too hard to knock. We've seen with Fury before, just coming back to life off the canvas. But I think he wins this, and I think we get a decider, like a third installment as well. So. I think he's dipping a little bit. He's probably a little bit past his best, but I just refuse to believe that, these two want to go again, I reckon. So
I reckon
that's where I'm at.
I reckon Fury's just a bit past his prime. I think he's lost a bit of that like he had that initial hunger to come back from where he did, which is incredible. Yep. One of the great journeys all time. And I think Usyk, because he's had 12 rounds with him already, or however many, he's had time to download. Because Usyk is one of the smartest fighters in boxing.
Yep.
One of the best boxing IQs you can see, you can watch. And I reckon because he's had that 12 rounds, he would have downloaded enough information for that second fight. I think Usyk wins. It's almost a bit like Floyd Mayweather. If he fights you once usually what happens, like Floyd Mayweather, a relatively slow starter, but he's just downloading information. There's been even fights early in Floyd's career where he's been nearly dropped in the opening rounds only to go on and drop the opponent. Because once he has the information and he's downloaded exactly what you're doing, all the openings you have, he finishes you. So I reckon Usyk with a late finish, maybe round 9 or 10.
Okay.
Usyk with a late finish, round 9 or 10. Fury will be a bit gassed, as well as I think Usyk has just downloaded enough to know how he moves. So we're getting a little bit Fury past his prime and an Usyk that knows Fury better than ever in this second fight.
So you're going Usyk, KO or TKO?
Late rounds.
Which you get $4.10. Yeah, if you want to do a round specific one, whack one on the feed, I reckon.
Yep, 9 or 10. I'm going to go that.
There. Matty, your thoughts?
I'm not going to pretend I know too much, so I'm just going to go Usyk on points or decision.
Yep, and Rue's going to go the same way. He went with Usyk on points or decision, and Timmy told me he'd get back to me later. So, bit of a cowardly play.
Yep, that's cowardly.
Oh, sorry, Rue went Fury on points or decision.
Okay.
So we'll see what Timmy comes up with a bit later. Now, one more I want to get, a bit of a futures play across the Big Bash. I'd love to get the team that's going to win the Big Bash. And then there's a feature on Sports which I touched on before where you can multi together top wicket takers and top run scorers for different teams. You can't do that everywhere else. So they're very keen to get each of us to lock one of those in. Do you want the new ball, or do you want a bit of thinking time while Matty and I show our working? Or
no, I'm going Queensland's going to win.
Yep. Heat, go back to back.
Back to back.
Yep. Gotcha. They're paying $5. They looked pretty good last year. Shocked a few people. What about in terms of top wicket taker, top run scorers? Now, it doesn't have to be from the Heat. Can be obviously David Warner's back for the Thunder. First time he's going to play a full season of the Big Bash. Nathan Ellis is a friend of the show.
Nathan Ellis is going to have a big one.
Yep. $2.55 to be the top Hurricanes wicket taker.
Yep. Absolutely.
So you're going to put him in as your wicket taker.
Yep.
You obviously you challenged David Warner's opinions at the start of the show.
I can't back him in after I've challenged his opinions.
Yep, that's fair.
It's going to be a stoush.
Yep.
A war of words between me and Warner, so I can't back him in.
I'm just trying to think some other friends of the show, potentially Chris Lynn, who's at the Adelaide Strikers these days, $3.60 to be the top Strikers run scorer. I don't know. Beyond that, are there any other avid listeners floating around in the Big Bash?
Oh, I don't know if he's an avid listener, but Marcus Stoinis looks like he could play NRL. He's right up there.
Yeah.
We'll go Lynn for a...
Lynn, 360?
Yeah, go Lynn, yeah.
So Heat, Lynn and Ellis.
Yeah.
I don't mind that.
Yeah.
Bit of value there around Lynn.
There you go.
Mr. Cricket, we'll get that one on the feed. Matty, what do you like?
I'm going to go Spencer Johnson for Heat. Oh, sorry, Spencer Johnson, most wickets.
Yep. I like that.
He's a beast.
Yep.
I'll go Fraser McGurk, most runs. I know he can be hit and miss, but
yeah,
I'm going to back him in.
I like that.
Now, I hate myself for saying this because I'm a Sixers fan, but I'm actually like the look of the Thunder this year.
Jeez.
I know they're not really rated that well
$8
on Sportsbet as well, but
yep.
I don't know. I just like the look of their team. I like a lot of their players.
Yep.
Warner, love Lockie Ferguson.
Constance
having a run, so I'm going to go Thunder to win.
They will be exciting to watch. I'm with you on the Thunder, but I'm going to back the Scorchers. A bit boring. They are the favourites, but they're still $4.33. Big advantage playing at home all the time. I think they're going to be very hard to beat. I'm having Adam Zampa top Renegades wicket taker at 270. And I can't go past Matt Short, top Adelaide Strikers run scorer. Again, about the $2 mark, a bit short, but short by name, short by nature. Yeah. Guru, he said the Strikers, Short and Ellis. And Timmy, again, was a bit of a coward and said he'd get back to me later. So we'll see what he reckons, but we'll check in on those when we get back in early Jan.
Also, our boy Sammy Goodman got cut, unfortunately. NOA fight has been postponed, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So that sucks, but hopefully Sammy Goodman will see him back in the ring soon.
Do you think we maybe distracted him with our interview on the same day as the incident?
It was hard-hitting questions.
It was.
So hard they cut him.
Maybe it was one of the questions that
cut him.
Yeah. Anyway, he sounded pretty dialed in, so that's a real shame.
That is a real shame. I mean, that is a fight of a lifetime, seriously, pound for pound, in a way.
Yep.
It was one of the biggest challenges in boxing, period. I watched the No Limit card. Was it Jazzy Parr?
Jazzy Parr got done.
Did you watch the fight?
I didn't see the whole fight. I saw some of the highlights.
Look,
she should have won it.
I know I'm a casual, so I'm sure there are people out there know boxing way better than me. But from what I saw, I definitely had Parr winning.
Yep.
And that's not from I haven't even followed her career that much. I just thought she landed easily the cleaner shots. And I mean, there was one judge that had the other lady winning by every round nearly, which was just insane. But I had Jazzy Parr by 2 or 3 rounds.
Would it be fair to say that the judging was a bit below par?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. But I don't know, maybe, honestly, it made me, when they read out the score and I'll have to get up the lady's name quickly.
I saw some of the feedback around the fight was that it was
so Shannon O'Connell, tough as nails, incredible feat. I think she's 41 years old, still boxing. Incredible. What an amazing career, and the ability to even go toe-to-toe with one of the best younger boxers we've got in the female divisions. And so full respect to O'Connell, no knock on her whatsoever. I remember watching it thinking, Jazzy Parr's definitely won.
Yeah.
Definitely won. And when they read it out that O'Connell had won, I remember going, fuck, I must be, I felt crazy.
Taking crazy pills.
Yeah, I felt crazy because I thought I definitely won it. Don't get me wrong, I didn't think it was like a shutout or anything.
Yeah.
O'Connell fought a really smart fight on the outside, and there's definitely areas in Parr's game of almost just walking forward and no head movement and everything. But yeah, I definitely thought Parr won. I was quite surprised O'Connell got the nod. So hopefully we can see a rematch.
Yeah.
Because... yeah, I was a super enjoyable fight to watch.
Yeah.
And then in the main event, I think it's Rocky. He got the job done. Brock Jarvis. He got the job done, which was a good win on his return fight. I think he went up a weight. But yeah, I was the Jazzy Parr situation. I definitely thought she'd won, but again,
yep.
I'm no expert.
Yeah,
I'm no expert.
Left a bit of a bad taste in a few mouths that one by the looks of things, because a lot of hype around Jazzy Parr, very exciting kind of new fighter, but hopefully they get a rematch.
I tell you what, a rematch will be quite big.
Yeah,
I reckon a rematch will be quite big. So definitely, they'd be crazy not to do a rematch.
Yeah,
crazy not to do a rematch. But no knock on O'Connell. Incredible what she did to be able to go toe to toe at that age with everything she's already done in the boxing in Australia is incredible. I just personally thought that Parr won.
Yep.
But I'm no professional. I'm no expert. Anything else going on, boys, in the sporting world?
No, I don't think so. Nothing massive. How are the Aussies going? Back out there, a bit of a rain.
I think I just looked. The rain came over, and then we just lost a couple of wickets, so we're about to go to bat.
Okay, we're all out for
445-ish.
Okay, yeah, we're a chance.
How are we looking? How's that looking? 445?
444, yeah. It's just the rain's going to be.
It's the rain. That's the problem.
Big set. They need a bowl India out today, I'd say, if they're going to be any sort of hope. And
so, how many days have they got to bowl them out?
Well, they're going to do it twice. So they need to bowl them out today and then ideally enforce the follow-on.
What? So they've got to bowl them out, go back into bat, and then bowl them out again?
Yeah.
I think if time's going to be of the essence, they need to bowl them out very cheaply and then
maybe not
even bat again and then just send them straight back in.
So we need to bowl them out for, if it's 445, which I think it is, we need to bowl them out for 245 or less, so then we can send them straight back in and then bowl them out again.
Yeah,
wow.
It's going to be tough.
And we've got till Wednesday night?
Wednesday night.
Yeah, Wednesday night. Yeah.
So we'd pretty much need to get them out today.
We need early wickets.
To win this game, we have to do it today.
And so would India just be playing defence this whole time now?
Yep, batting time, just, pretty much. Yep.
India have no problem playing for draws. They don't care.
Wow.
That's Matty saying that about his own team.
Yeah,
so
that's crazy. That's
Must be
crazy.
true.
No, India's going to come after you, mate. Grab some Grumpy Coffee, the best coffee in all the land. And also grab some bloke undies, guys. Trust me, super comfy, perfect present for yourself or for your partner. Some bloke undies, the highest quality material we could find. It's anti-chafe stuff. It's got everything. These are really high quality. Trust me, you will not be disappointed in the quality of bloke undies. And as I said, pods are back, whole beans are back. Make sure to go to grumpycoffee.com.au, grab some of the best coffee in the land. And as usual, last show for the year, guys. Thank you so much for the year. I seriously cannot thank you guys enough. We really appreciate it. And we're coming back bigger and better next year, as usual. And make sure everyone go and enjoy yourself over the break. Stay safe. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. And I'll go and fuck myself. Thank you.
What are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.